We should be live. Gotta make sure we're live on YouTube. But episode 146, we have AVRL, Custa, Jaws, people who followed Overwatch in the past few months on the podcast to discuss Overwatch. How's it going, guys? Overwatch release week.
Yeah, woo! This was a terrible launch, unfortunately. I feel really bad. I think it was kind of disappointing with how the launch went. But hey, it seems more stable now.
Yeah.
So
apart from the hero thing, like that. But yeah, we can talk about that.
It's been a week. Did they fix that? Yeah, it's been a week. It shouldn't be happening. Right?
Did apparently.
Well, yeah, everyone thought it was fixed until they did that. Like, or they had that issue, and then like they had to take the service down a couple of times.
Yeah, they took it down for an hour last night, I think, from like 8 ET to 9 or something. But yeah, hopefully it's fixed because I love getting into a game where we have no heroes.
Like supports is Lucio, Moira, and Mercy. Every time when people are like, "Which one do you want me to play?" I'm like, "Oh god." I guess you have to play Lucio.
yeah, I know, right?
Yeah, I've definitely been in that position. I mean, yesterday I queued ranked, and it was just like some of the most awful rank I've ever played. And
I have never been in a lobby with someone else, by the way, just as a caveat. Me and Johnny's games, impossible. They were impossible.
Literally impossible. Like, I was sweaty after like games. Yeah. I placed Diamond 4, okay? So I feel washed, okay? I was literally embarrassed. When I was talking about stream, people came into my stream and they were like, hey, you know, it says in your title, you're a Watch Pro, whatever, like, what rank are you? And I'm like, I'm Diamond 4. I've never in my entire life, never said that I'm Diamond 4 in anything, except DPS, I guess, in Overwatch 1. It was a true sad moment, all right? So, you know, those Diamond 4 games, I swear to God, Elo Hell might be a thing, guys. Jesus Christ. These games were so difficult. Unbelievably. Ranking up challenge, impossible.
They were difficult, to be fair. They were difficult.
Well, okay, the main reason, which I'm getting to, is because of this hero bug, right? The hero bug, it just ruined everything. And I apologize to the supports I played with. I was like, please, can we have a Senana? It just so happened they were unable to swap to Senana in the first place because of the hero bug that only allowed the starting heroes. So what a ranking experience yesterday was. That was a day of Overwatch indeed.
Yeah, I also think there is like with this like soft MMR reset that they've done with dropping people quite low. This is always going to happen when you sort of like throw people into the fires of like, let's see where everyone stands again, is that I've had a lot of one-sided games where like you get into the game and your team just gets rolled, or you roll and it doesn't feel like how you play has much impact on the game. So that'll probably normalize as time goes on, as people get to their true ranks, but it's been a wild week.
Or you play against Jake on Eichenwald and he picks Farah and then starts antagonizing our team in fucking text chat saying 1v1 me on Farah and then we get fucking rolled. That wasn't fun. I will say it. I'll be the first to say it. Not fun playing against Jake Farah.
What's up, AVRL?
Fuck you, Jake.
You guys are pretty brave, you know, playing through ranked and all that. You know, with a bit of instability, I was away for the weekend as well. It's like, I'll get a rest. I'll play on launch day. I'll come back when things hopefully quieten down a bit. And I don't know. It sounds like things are quieting down a little bit. There's still a bit of instability.
Should be better now. Yeah, you did dodge the bullet. It was a week.
I don't know. I didn't even play on like exact hour of launch because it launched like 5 a.m. local for me or something like that. And I'm like, I just don't need to, you know. I'll wait till like I'll go to bed. I'll wait till like another 7 or 8 hours. I'll play later, you know. I just knew that day one especially was going to be a bit of a shit show, and I don't know. I hope they fix it soon. I don't know what else they need to do. I'm not a very technical guy. But,
so it seems like the DDoS thing is probably over, right? Like for the most part, the DDoS they've had a lot of issues with like migrating the accounts, like taking, because you know they introduced this first-time user experience for people who never played the game before, and that was what we struggled with yesterday. In that some accounts, even though they've played for a long time, they even have the Watchpoint pack, they still were unable to select all the different heroes, so that was a problem. Console had like massive issues. Console had the most issues out of anyone. So if you're a console player, I feel bad for you. They were unable to log in. When they migrated their accounts, like via the website, it's like everyone who's migrated their accounts can't even play to begin with. So just an absolute cluster of different issues. But it seems like we're getting there day by day.
I don't want to be that guy because I don't want to be like, oh, didn't they not test it or something? But I feel like, you know, maybe it's the mass, maybe it's the quantity, right? Maybe they, you know, obviously they tested, hey, does the migration work? Cool, it does work, done. But is it just a server capacity thing? Is it just a large quantity of people trying to migrate? I don't know what it is, but it just feels like a obviously this launch window was very aggressive for the team. I don't know. I don't know if there was maybe more testing required or something. Because my only fear with this entire launch was like, well, what if technical issues just drag it down? And I think it has dragged it down, but thankfully the game's been pretty solid, so people have been watching and playing regardless, which is a great silver lining.
You can never test 100 billion people. Not obviously.
Well, a lot of servers do open betas for that reason, right? Like they do an open beta.
Yeah, but the account migration is not exactly something
I guess
you can
that's
test
fair.
for. You can test like the functionality of it actually working, right? They've probably got dummy accounts everywhere that they kind of do that, but you can't also test 100,000 accounts being merged at the same time while your servers are getting DDoS and stuff like that. It happened with WoW too. Like a few WoW expansions, this has happened where everybody's logging on day number 1 or day number 2 or whatever, and then it's like the easiest thing to DDoS in the world because there's already so much traffic. You only need to just tip it over the edge, and all the servers come tumbling down, basically. Yeah. It's unfortunate, but I mean, it seems like they've recovered fairly quickly. Like, I got hit with very small queues on day 2, day 3, I was fine. So,
yeah,
I don't know. People still enjoying the game. So.
Get DDoS yesterday, so I was completely wrong. They did DDoS within the last 12 hours, so it's not over.
But I think that's more of a Blizzard thing than just an Overwatch 2 thing as well, because I've heard the WoW servers and stuff like that have been having issues as well.
Yeah. Gotta suck to work on that tech team right now, because obviously there's a lot of games that are coming out the rest of this year. They have World of Warcraft, like you mentioned. They're releasing Dragonflight in December? Is it late November or December, something like that?
Late November, yeah.
Yeah, and then also they have Call of Duty, which I guess is not Blizzard, but it's still Activision Blizzard are releasing a new Call of Duty, right? That's Modern Warfare. So I think there's a lot of anxious people at that company right now trying to sort out these issues, but I feel for it. Let's discuss some of the good things then. Like you mentioned, I think it was Jaws. A lot of people playing the game, a lot of people enjoying the game. Tons of variety streamers, most of which made use of this Twitch drop thing this past weekend. They found that pretty lucrative when it came to getting the views, but also just people who have enjoyed the game in general. I believe it was Moist Critical who released a review video yesterday, about 13-15 minutes talking about this experience. I didn't watch the entire thing, but it seemed like from most people's side it was a pretty positive review overall. A lot of people are coming back saying they really enjoy the game now when it's not all about shields and stuff like that. They can actually express their aims, express their mechanics in a way that they couldn't before. So overall, it seems like a lot of people are coming back to the franchise and at least like enjoying the gameplay experience.
And I think that's the underlining thing of everything, is that like you can have a ton of complaints about the monetization system, battle pass, heroes, all that kind of stuff, like the servers being bad, the launch being bad. But at the end of the day, the core gameplay and the fundamentals of it is fun. And that's what matters in the long term. In a year from now, people aren't even really going to remember the launch. Once the shops and the monetization model starts thriving and everything starts coming along, hopefully everything should be better. The question really remains of, obviously it's great to have these big streamers playing it, where we've been over 300k viewers for like consistently for about a week now, which is great. But once the drops fall off, once everything happens, is the viewership and everything and the player base going to remain healthy? And hopefully it's a good sign to begin with, right? Like I did not think we would be here a week from now.
I mean, what's healthy? Well, you have to define healthy as well, because for me, like I think if we start competing with like CSGO, Apex, and well, maybe not Valorant for now. I think that might be optimistic, but anywhere on that level, I think it would be pretty good. So like, even just
I think if we can get to tier 2,
I think
solid tier 2 would be good. Yeah.
Yeah. Would you classify as tier 2 on Twitch? Do you think that's like the
second row?
The second row.
Second row. Yeah, you're like Apex, CSGO, like those ones. Like as I said, we're not going to compete with League of Legends or Valorant almost ever again. Like I just think it's unrealistic with where we are right now. But if we can get into that row, that's a very healthy, sustainable game that has money coming into that you can do cool stuff. Like I think that it's a good optimistic take for Overwatch 2.
Can I tell you what the second row right now is? It's as of right now, live CSGO at 50k, Dota at 49k, Apex Legends at 43k. I think that's totally doable. I think we can 100% be there.
Yeah.
Even WoW at 59. Like I think we can beat WoW. Fortnite at 69. We can We're getting a little high now, but you know, I
Well,
would love
the
to
wild
get that.
category is
for you.
carried by like 2 streamers. So
I can.
which is, to be fair, most
for you.
categories actually. Not to bag
And
on
we
the
can
wild
take a look at
category.
some of the viewer statistics so far. So this is Overwatch 1 right here on Solid.com. It pulls like Twitch statistics, stuff like
Oh,
that.
yo, Overwatch is dead, bro. Look at
Yeah,
that.
so this is Overwatch 1. All
It's
right.
dead already. What the fuck?
It's dead.
Oh, shit,
my
Jack.
God.
It's in the shit.
10 viewers.
It's deadlining. It's fucking gone. All
It's
right.
on my stream.
Rest in peace. But you can see here, like Sunday, 11th September. You know, it sort of like oscillates between 5 and 15,000. This is Overwatch viewers hourly average. You know, so that's for the entire game. So between 5 and 15,000. You know, oscillates for about what's that? 2 weeks? Yeah, 2 weeks almost. And here we go. This is channels. I'm not channel streaming. So between 300 to 700-800 there for about a 2-week stretch right there. So not the greatest time. We go over to Overwatch 2. Deep breath in.
It's alive!
This is like a fucking crypto chart right here, dude.
It
And
is,
look, first of all, it's Overwatch 2,
don't
right?
say that, because then there's going to be a fucking pump and dump, Johnny.
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about. Look, if people are dumping Overwatch 2 after the Twitch drops, we're in big trouble. But yeah, of course, I mean, there's like, 9 viewers? No one's streaming Overwatch 2, right? Because Overwatch 2 wasn't out yet. But right here, it goes from, 45, 20,000, 5,000 viewers to, it spikes to 576,000.
The GameStop?
It's pretty good.
The GameStop, dude. It's a short squeeze on Overwatch. People were so down on Overwatch, dude, that it just fucking short squeezed all the way up. And now people are all in, bro. They're putting...
all that
it's trending,
hate
bro.
is from Valorant. George Geddes, they've been short squeezing us for so long. They've been shorting us for so long. So it's time we squeeze back, man. It's time we squeeze back. I'm loving it.
All these big institutions bullying us. Now, the Overwatch family, rise up to the moon. Yeah, but it starts at like the 500k, I suppose, at like the peak of the release, but then it goes down to it's about 100, 200, and then this is Twitch drops. I think Twitch drops, it maxes out at like 620,000 viewers, and it's gonna drop down because people get their skins or whatever, but it's still we're about in like the 200,000 to 400,000 range, I'd say, like in terms of viewers. And we'll see how this continues on when Twitch drops. I think Twitch drops are live for like another week or so, right? Another week or two.
There's 2 sets of Twitch drops. So there's the Kiriko voice line and the skin, and then there's next week starting on the Twitch has labeled this wrong, because when I went to collect my first 2, they said the new drop ends on the 17th. It actually starts on the 17th, which is the spray and the donut charm.
The donut charm.
Yes, there's like 2 separate drops. Yeah, I think most people have got the skin already, but yeah, the spray and the donut charm is later on.
Yeah,
starts on the 17th.
I think also we can't really see this because me and AVRL is in the way, but also we have this Overwatch 2 channels. How many people are streaming Overwatch 2? This one hovers based on time zones, of course, but this one hovers around like 4,000, 4 to 10,000 with the drops. So just comparing 4 to 10,000 compared to 400 to 800, it's literally like times 10 as many people streaming Overwatch as part of the release, of course. So interesting to see how that keeps up.
Check on something for me.
Sorry.
So check on something for me. Go to original Overwatch or Overwatch 1. Yeah. Okay, viewer ratio. Okay, 14.6. Okay, go to Overwatch 2.
Where are you? Here? 14.6.
Yes.
Viewer ratio. 36.9.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. I was just curious, because you would kind of think that indicates a lot of casual people that are not necessarily interested in like streaming Overwatch and playing it in the long term, more just there for the kind of drops. I always think viewer ratio is really interesting on Twitch, at least because it's such a top heavy platform. If that number is high, it just kind of indicates that like it's a top heavy game. I would be interested to see how that stat figures out like a month from now. Yeah,
and
because that says there's 36 viewers per channel that is live on Overwatch, right? So
I think it's important to remember that Overwatch does very well outside of Twitch as well. Like, I think it does really well on YouTube, like that, as like, especially from a casual audience. The animated porn industry is fucking thriving right now in Overwatch 2. It is single-handedly keeping us alive. So, you know, I appreciate like everything, and like it feels like everyone and all those kind of forms of content, not just the live one. The only thing that we haven't really seen, funnily enough, a drastic increase in is Overwatch League. We actually didn't see much of a growth in the Overwatch League. We're still sitting around like 30, 40K. There's a little bit of a bump, but not much. And I'm kind of curious on like what causes something like that. It's probably because of just discoverability on YouTube. Like, I feel like if it was on Twitch and it had the same Kiriko drop, it would probably go absolutely mental, but we don't have that. And I think that's probably a bad thing for like.
I want to pick up on something on that real quick. I want to compare. God, I feel bad. I'm not sure if anybody else kind of picked up on this, but I compare a lot of shit to like Apex and stuff. But I think this is a good example because Apex is free to play and it didn't have the best it had a good launch, to be fair. Like when it originally came out, right? Everybody was popping off, everybody was fucking playing that game, but then it kind of suffered a lull. Then over the last like 2 years or so, or like year and a half, it's been popping off. But like, so is the esport. It's definitely had some like trickle down there where like a lot more casual players are now tuning into the esport. And someone asked me in my stream the other day, like, how do you think it'll affect Overwatch League? And I don't think it'll affect it right away because I think people are more concerned about playing the game right now and just like gaming. They might not be focused. This might not be their main game just yet. But if it does turn into people's main game, the trickle down in esports over time, technically, will be a lot better. It's the same kind of thing happened to Apex. Like when it got popular again, like the numbers for ALGS and stuff did rise, and like even like small tournaments, like it did end up going up. I think it just takes time for that to actually happen. Yeah, I don't think we'll see like an immediate effect.
No, and I mean there are so many different reasons why people would not tune into Overwatch League right now. Like first of all, I don't know why my camera just froze.
We all you and Jack, Bruce, yeah.
That is very weird.
Except for AVRL. AVRL's looking great. Australian internet is rising up right now.
Yeah,
it's actually getting better. It actually has improved since you left. You're missing out, dude.
Anyway, no one needs to see my face. I can just talk anyway. I hope the volume works. That's all that matters. If we have problems with the audio, and please in YouTube chat, please point that out to us so we can fix that, because it's a podcast after all. Audio is way more important than video. But anyway, yeah, I would be very surprised if the playoffs, maybe even the play-ins, is not like heavily advertised like for the Overwatch League. I think now would not be the time to try to get people to tune in to the Overwatch League, right? Like it's pointless games in the regular season. Some of these matches are pointless. Like the playoffs feel like a way more important thing. And my approach going into this week, when a lot of people were, I think some people were way too optimistic, was like, oh, we're going to see like the Overwatch League viewership like double, because all these people now interested in Overwatch 2 are gonna search out the Overwatch League and find that stream. And it's like, no, like I don't think like people care enough about the esport right now. If people actually stay around and play the game for some extended amount of time, and then that feed finds itself somehow like into their life and esports become relevant, then yeah, sure, over time we'll build up that audience. But I'm not expecting like people to just instantly like find interest in the Overwatch League snapping the fingers just like Overwatch 2 is released. So I think we'll build it up slowly over time, and I think playoffs is like the real deal breaker. How many people can we get to tune in for the playoffs themselves?
I mean,
especially once Kiriko gets played.
Even more than that, I think the finals, right? Because that's the actual live event, Anaheim, crowd, best possible games. I think every esport peaks in viewership for their finals, right? Like that's the really important time. Hopefully stuff like viewership rules, I'm sure that's all going to be part of it, and large promotion, post stream on the Play Overwatch channel. If there's a time to market your game and your esport, I think you want to head towards the playoffs. That's why I think the timing of the release is insane. I'm sure it was all somewhat planned behind the scenes as well, but it's like release the game, have people play it, head into playoffs, head into finals, and then that being like the event, that Nexus event where like, hey, now everyone please come watch the Overwatch League, and then hopefully they like enough to maybe get hooked to it and be ready to come in next season, or maybe watch some VODs. I don't know, but I think that's the key event, the finals.
You know what would have been lit? Can you imagine if next month we had World Cup? That would have been crazy.
Oh, that would have
been crazy hard. But yeah.
Except Scott, to get to the World Cup, you need like this whole year-long phase of getting people there and like qualifying through and all that kind of BS.
Like,
Like,
just invite all the good
You just
countries in
invite
Australia.
okay, let's not do that.
yeah, actually, you know what we need? Have we not had this yet? Have we not had like a Twitch Rivals like stream Overwatch 2 tournament yet? Has that happened?
No, they haven't done
Well, it's
that.
only
Why
just
is that
come
not
out, hasn't
happening?
it? So-
They'll probably like, and
They'll
I'm glad that
definitely
they
do it.
didn't. Can you imagine if they tried to do one this week? It would have been a shit show.
Okay,
So
you're right. Maybe not now, but like when we can do it stably,
Absolutely, in the next
stability.
couple of weeks, it'd be awesome
It's like-
for them to do a Twitch Rivals.
I'm not gonna lie, like even it's a meme at the moment, but like people, I love all the people like I'm gonna leave Overwatch for Gundam. They did Twitch Rivals. They
How's
did
that
Twitch
going?
Rivals.
Let's look up Gundam real quick on Solid.
Yeah, get it up.
Gundam is better than Overwatch. And I'm like, where is it now? Where
Johnny's
is
going
this
for the
Gundam
juggler.
evolution?
Johnny's bro, they're already dead, man. Stop it, Johnny.
We're gonna release an Overwatch-like game 1 month
Space
before.
won the tournament. Space won the Twitch Rivals, by the way. He gets a free trip to Japan. That's actually not a bad reward.
Who?
Space won it.
As in
Space.
space?
Yeah,
As in
Space.
Gladiator space?
Yes, Gladiator Space won the Gundam tournament.
What?
Twitch Rivals.
What
Yes.
the fuck?
I
Can
watched
we
it.
play
He's won.
that?
I don't know. I don't
I mean,
fucking
it's a
know.
separate
Not
game. I don't
actually.
think they care.
No,
I
never
have no
mind.
idea.
Space didn't win it. Never mind. And you
Yeah,
guys
sorry,
didn't
I
say
take
who?
it back.
Yeah.
I take it back. It was a different guy called SPVCE. There's no A. There's a V.
okay.
Yeah, my bad. My bad,
Oh,
guys. My bad.
Gundam
That
guy.
makes sense, actually.
All right. So people are like, well, Overwatch 2. They're not promoting the Overwatch League. I actually think that the Overwatch 2 marketing team is smarter than we give them credit for. All right. Because just a couple of weeks ago, the copium, unreal amounts of copium. You guys should have seen the last episode. I was off the goop with some hopium right there in that episode. So basically, genius is at work. It was explained to me by unknown sources, unknown as in you guys don't know them, but I know them. That like, why would you advertise a free-to-play game before it's released and no one can play it?
That's what I was saying, right? Like, people were like, why would you
The source
advertise-
was Custa.
Yes! I told people kept saying like, oh my god, why aren't they marketing a game? It's like, why would you heavily market the game when people don't have the ability to go press the download button? Like, it's a free-to-play game. I think people are so used to like the pre-purchasing model and that kind of like style that like where it is important to like advertise it early. And also Overwatch didn't need to tell people what the game is. Like, everyone knows what Overwatch is. It's one of the most recognizable FPS games in the world. So it's like, I don't know. I think I agree with Johnny. Like, obviously this week in terms of server stability hasn't been good, but I think the marketing team is doing a great job. And I hope that also means that we're going to get some Overwatch League promotion when it actually matters, as Johnny said, because this week was not the time to promote it. Hopefully going into the playoffs, hopefully we get a button in the browser in the game which says Overwatch League is live. Click that button, it'll send you to the YouTube. It would be absolutely incredible if they could accomplish that.
Yeah, that is the only thing that's missing currently on the menu, or like, I think exit game is also missing on the menu, which is kind of strange. But well, yeah, I don't know if anybody else has noticed that. I was like, you can't quit the game without hitting escape this time. That is very funny. I just found that interesting. But yeah, the Overwatch League button that used to link to the store for Overwatch League and the results page too, that is currently missing. And yeah, when playoffs comes around, I really do hope they, in the most ideal world possible, honestly, would be you click the button and there's an embed of the stream. And it has like the matches coming up. Maybe it links, there's another link that goes to the store where you can buy the skins. You keep obviously the Overwatch League skin tab in the store, but that's the biggest bit of hopium fucking ever. But just some sort of button or some sort of menu thing that has, Overwatch League playoffs are now live, grand finals are now live, even stretching into 2023. It's new season just sprung up. We mentioned this last episode, I think, but the way League of Legends does it and Valorant does it, and when they have their little advertisements within the game, they could definitely do those too, I think. And I think that would be another like
just a
kind
splash
of a sick
screen.
addition.
They just literally put it on the splash screen.
Yeah.
And like you can have a new button on the
Pretty cool.
splash screen, like not next to the menu, but on the other side, it's like Overwatch League Finals, and just have like a cool video with the trophy. I mean, it's basically what Worlds does. I mean, like, I feel like we got to start doing stuff like that. We got to stop being scared of it. Like back
It's
in the
probably
day,
not their priority though.
Yeah.
It's like the Duma point of that is like, okay, so what is their priority right now? Well, it's pumping out content because that's what a live service game is. Is it advertising the Overwatch League? And you know how much polish Blizzard like to put into things?
John's the commercial guy, and he's one of us. He's an Al fella.
Yeah,
Yes.
we
I
got
believe him.
we
I
got an
believe him.
insider. We got a
we
rat on the
do.
inside.
Which
Put
is
John on
sick.
the inside. We put John in there.
That is the Duma quote, a Duma opinion, right? Is that it's really not a priority for them at all, because technically they are a separate company in a way.
Well,
They're like under umbrella, but they're like different.
I think I side with the take that, like, at the end of the day, like, Overwatch or esports in general is marketing for the game in some way, because you're like putting the best players on display, and we've been over this before. You can sell skins and stuff like that. But I think there would be a massively missed opportunity and incredible oversight if you did not take advantage of the Overwatch League finals and promoted that. Like, this is the best Overwatch players in the world competing in a finals that happens once per year. So I fully expect some kind of marketing to go into that. Now, what are they going to do? I am expecting bigger things than the past couple of years, honestly. I don't think there's any way that they're going to overlook this. So
I hope there is a big thing of like announcements happen during the finals. I think that would be a big thing. If they could tease something, promote something, give players a reason to come watch if you want to see the new thing. I think that'd also be a big thing.
As long as not teased in the literal middle of the grand finals, we have to pause the entire grand finals to do some teaser. As long as we don't do that again.
That might happen, Errol.
It should be. Yeah, that probably will happen.
That probably
might happen.
Yeah.
Oh no, please,
it's probably
come
like
on.
a halftime.
But yeah, like even drops. Like, I would not be surprised to see like drops or some shit for the playoffs. That would just make sense.
We've had that before, right?
Yeah, we have that before. Call of Duty has had it before as well. Like, if we didn't, I'd be like, wait, what? what are we doing? Okay, all right. So, but yeah, also the McDonald's thing. That's another example of like marketing that's finally coming around.
Pretty sick.
It was kind of leaked like many months ago and forgot about it, and now finally it seems like the McDonald's Overwatch thing is happening. AVRL?
I'm actually in Australia. I don't know. I'm gonna go in when it actually drops. I'm gonna go into McDonald's and fucking see what's up, and I will report back to the masses and tell everyone what's going on.
Well, it better be in the US as well. There's no way they're only doing it in Australia. It's only
Scott. What you gotta understand. McDonald's Australia has been in partnership with Blizzard ANZ for like years.
Yeah,
right. It's tight. We actually people don't know. Well, people in Australia know. So not you, Scott, but people don't know about this. But
the truth.
2019, we had a contenders final in 2019. I think it might have been season 2, held in Rod Laver arenas.
I am fully ready for you to say that this finals was played at a McDonald's.
And it was played inside the McDonald's like pool, like a little pool pit, like a little foam pit. But it was actually deep in the TwitchCon one, so no one got hurt. No, what I'm trying to say is, seriously though, what I'm trying to say is that McDonald's had a promotion where the nearby McDonald's, I think it might have been more than nearby McDonald's, the takeaway bags had the contenders logo on it.
Yeah,
I shit you not.
That was pretty sick.
Wow.
Yeah, so they were cross promoting Overwatch contenders on the takeaway bag for the McDonald's. It was a fucking Overwatch contenders logo. That was the sickest thing I've ever seen. So McDonald's Australia and Blizzard they've been pretty tight for quite a few years now. So like none of this surprised me. It's actually pretty poggers. I'm gonna go in and see what's up.
All right, I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully we get that as well. So we have that. We have, Halloween is coming up as well. So hopefully we have like some kind of like, not Junkenstein's Revenge.
Let's go Junkenstein Revenge 2. Let's go.
We got the Overwatch League finals or playoffs taking place. And then hopefully, something with that. So there are some things like, in the mix here, and maybe, hopefully at Twitch Rivals. I'm just saying like it's finally in motion. The Overwatch 2 marketing campaign is in motion and we're actively doing things. So I'm looking forward to see if there's more stuff. Who knows what there's going to be. But there are a few events or like holidays coming up where I suspect, hopefully, there will be some kind of good things coming our way. So the game is finally out. Hopefully the worst of the tech issues is behind us and we got some good things coming out. And now let's transition into one of the coolest things that happened this past week. It was, of course, the Kiriko Cinematic that premiered at TwitchCon as well. Finally, a new cinematic. It's been forever, quite honestly, it feels like. I can't remember the last time.
Did you forget the Junker Queen one?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, that's true. True? Okay, my excuse... Well, never mind, I don't have an excuse. The Kiriko thing. Whoa, yeah.
The Kiriko one felt more in line. Like the Junker Queen one was cool, but this one felt more in line with like the earlier ones where it's like there's a tragedy and it makes you feel emotional. Like I wasn't emotionally attached to Junker Queen with her story, but like Kiriko, like and everything is just like, you know, it just made it hit you in the feels like they used to in the past.
It is emotional, bro.
Yeah.
Everybody be crying in the club.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just because I'm getting older or what, but you know, these kind of things just, you know, hit me right there. And also it had some fun. Like the fight scene was fucking awesome. The little kid running with the axe was awesome. Like it had so many like funny things that it made you laugh, it made you sad, it made you like hoggers. Like it gave you everything that you want in a cinematic.
Yeah, and also I think like, you know, that it coincides with the release of the game. It's definitely going to be more hype to watch one of these cinematics, right? Like the Junker Queen was like kind of not out of nowhere, but like it was not super hype because at the time, like we were just kind of waiting, right, for the release of Overwatch 2, and there were no outside kind of hype as well. But this felt like, you know, even here, like, you know, this part is like very Overwatchy in a way, and very sad is not the right word. What words would you use, Custa? As someone who's a native English speaker, it's not sad. It's, you know, heartwarming.
Heartwarming is probably the word. Yeah. I like the sign language as well. I think that's a cute little thing to like integrate into the cinematic as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what did we think about the cinematic overall? Did it hype up Kiriko as a character? Is this the kind of story character building we want?
Yeah,
I love like cyberpunky kind of stuff, and the aesthetic and the music choice too was just. I
love that theme song. Really good.
Real. It's in the main menu for Overwatch. Oh man, so I have it in my Spotify playlist now. I made a playlist especially for it. On Spotify. Yeah, Bow by MFS. Oh my god, that song fucking pounds. And in fact, a lot of their other music is really good too. It's along the same kind of lines and like tempo and feel and shit. It's it's definitely one of my favorite cinematics of all time because of that. And just the one bit that I found was like, I was like, yeah, I fucking love the shit. It was when she like teleports to the corridor and then they all kind of turn around, just like face kicking time, like face punching time or whatever the fuck. And I was like, man, I don't know. It just went super hard, super hard. It's the perfect level of like, like you were saying, like heartwarming kind of bits and pieces in there. There you go, face kicking time. Yeah,
and funny.
Like, it's fucking sick. Yeah. And comedy, obviously. It's just you wouldn't really expect anything less from Blizzard when it comes to cinematics like this.
Yeah,
they don't really miss on cinematics. Like, people seem to, the only way they've missed is that they stopped releasing them and new heroes. Like, that's the major miss, rather than like, I don't think they've ever like released bad cinematics and stuff like that. And that's what makes Overwatch special as a game, and like why so many people love it, is that their world building and their character building and, you know, just everything they've done is the best in the industry, at least in the FPS. Like Valorant has cool characters-ish, but you don't feel the same way about them, right? Like they don't seem to have that same level of feeling. So Blizzard seems to nail that every time.
There's also like something people completely missed as well. This is actually, you have to kind of find in the interviews, but they did actually say, in terms of, there's a lore reveal with all of this, because these guys like the Hashimoto gang, right? And they talked about, from an art perspective, how they created Kiriko from a concept of her originally being a PvE enemy or PvE boss. I don't know if you guys saw that.
Yeah.
Again, this is actually public. I ain't leaking anything. I know that's scary. But like, yeah. So like, she's meant to be part of like what she's part of the archetype, because you know how there's like what are they called, the Omnics, the bad ones in Null Sector, and then there's the Talon guys. Hashimoto's are meant to be one of the enemy groups, and she was meant to be part of them, and so they turn her concept into the actual hero. So I mean, this is like a faction reveal almost from a lore perspective. That's kind of something that people miss, but that was in some of the interviews.
When she's becoming a hero, bro.
Yeah.
When she getting her own hero.
People are saying that.
Also, I was confused about this bit until I realized I was like, oh yeah, it's the ultimate. They're getting hasted.
Yeah, it's the ultimate.
That's right.
She uses all of her abilities apart from the invuln.
Yo, what if she hits that? I think that's bad for the cinematic if she hits that.
Yeah.
I mean, Blizzard don't do that in
Can you
cinematics.
imagine
Come
if
on,
she
bro.
just murders that guy?
Yeah.
An adult version with
Splits
that
the
does
dude
happen.
in two.
A Quentin Tarantino version, it does hit. Yeah.
Brutal. Yeah, but that's cool. Got a new cinematic as well. And we had Aaron Keller actually guesting Watchpoint as well. They were on the show this past week. And he did hint, I don't know if it was intentional or not, but it did leak as well, that the next hero is going to be male. That's the pronouns. And that we've seen him before. So
it's
there you go.
Grandpa here.
Go speculate. Enjoy. We've seen him before. Great.
It's the Pompadour guy. It's the Pompadour villain.
We've seen so
saying-
many heroes. If you go back and watch the
Yeah.
original Winston cinematic, right? Like back from fucking 2016, you can see Sojourn. Like she's in that cinematic. Like they go well, like very far back with their art design and like the characters that we've seen and heard of.
Yeah.
The people in my Discord were saying it might be that Magnus dude, like the big
Alga?
guy with the like huge guns on his arms.
Oh my god, people have been talking about that guy forever,
that's
right?
not Magnus. That's
I know,
Malga.
right?
That's
Is that
Malga.
Malga? Yeah.
Malga? Oh, sorry.
Magnus is the Magnus is
Magnus
the
is-
dude from
Chess
Colosseo.
player. Oh, okay, yeah.
No,
Oh.
he's
Yeah,
the
always
dude from
got Magnus
Colosseo.
Carpe.
He's one of the gladiators.
Yeah.
He's one of the gladiators from Colosseo.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, but
This dude?
people were saying,
Yeah,
oh yeah,
that's
that dude.
Magnus.
That guy looks fucking badass. But if that's a hero, that's pretty.
I'm like,
They
this
should
should be
have
a
given
Ryan
a-
skin. Come
They
on
should
now.
have given. I
That'd be a
I
good
think
one.
this guy should have been a hero, and they should have given Arissa's spear kit to this guy, and Arissa could have been retained. I don't know.
Oh,
No,
no,
I'm
don't
one of
you
those
dare
guys.
say
Don't say
retain.
that.
Just
Don't
change
say
her
that.
into something else, okay? You take
Yeah.
that back.
I don't know why,
No.
but this reminds me of a League of Legends character. I don't know why.
Aatrox.
Probably. Yeah.
Aatrox with the big sword.
Why? Just because he got a sword?
No, I don't
Yeah,
know what it is.
it's
There's
like
something
Garrett.
about it. Just looks like a League of Legends character. There's just the pose or something. I don't know.
Aatrox.
Yeah. Anyway, I'd like to play whatever that is. Magnus, I'd like to play you. Wait,
Magnus-
never
He's,
mind.
why? Because he's Swedish.
Well, I Magnus is actually a Swedish name, yes. I don't know if Magnus in Dota 2 is Swedish. I don't think so. And Magnus is also a Dota 2 hero, right? So that's a rhino, though. That's not a human.
Yeah, I was gonna say, isn't that like a mammoth?
Kind of, yes. I'm trying to look up Dota lore, but Dota lore is never never
They
great.
don't really have lore with their
No, they
characters.
don't. They
just
don't
sort
really.
of exist.
Magnus, the Magnus Heroes. Very original. Great job. Apparently, yeah. Okay, never mind. Move on. All right. I feel like we discussed Overwatch 2 in the past week and everything that's gone on quite extensively. So perhaps it's time to move into the Overwatch League. This is, of course, we're drawing to a close when it comes to the regular season. Some matches don't mean anything. For example, some teams have started to wrap up. Vancouver Titans. They've done playing their regular season as well, and they're not in the playoffs, of course. So, there's not a ton of stuff to talk about overall, I'd feel like, and we're obviously going to cover the most important stuff. But I think we should cover the Houston Outlaws versus Dallas Fuel match. Custa was there in person. He casted the match with Mitch, of course. There was a bit of a Dallas Fuel 5-year anniversary thing going on as well. So a fun little occurrence. And then Houston Outlaws came in and they spoiled the entire thing. And how was that, Custa? How did the crowd react? What was the vibe inside the venue? Was there a lot of happiness that then turned into disappointment? How was the event?
Yeah, no, it was awesome. Like the Dallas Fuel fans are really just passionate. It was a sold out event. They didn't fill out their whole venue. It's actually funny. There was a world chase tag arena in the middle of the stadium. And I don't know if they ever showed that, but it's literally
That's
just
cool.
a parkour chasing tag kind of thing. Apparently it was his thing. Joe was just in it, but they actually filled out all the chairs. So it was really intimate, close. And then for the 5-year video, during the match before the Dallas match, they showed this 20-minute edited video of the history of Dallas Fuel and the MV squad before, how they became Dallas Fuel, all their hardships, all their successes. It was a really cool event, and it was a really cool venue. Even when they lost, I went down and I talked to some of the fans, and they're all still just happy to be there, and that's how live events generally are. It was disappointing to see Dallas Fuel lose once again in front of their home crowd, considering we put them on such a high pedestal to be the best. But the Lucio Bapzaya meta has sort of thrown a wrench in a bunch of these teams' plans.
Yeah, let's wait with the meta because it's all craziness. It's all over the place.
Dude.
But let's talk about the match itself. Yeah, bro.
Johnny, you cursed the fuck out of them. I bet this is where
I
Dallas
want to
is to
shift
be
the
the
blame
most
to Johnny as
Dallas thing ever if they
Good
just
idea.
lose to Houston right now, and then they did.
Yeah.
Did you have a smile on your face afterwards? You're like just sitting in the truck, like holy shit.
Oh
I knew
yeah,
it.
I mean it was glorious. Basically, we showed a graphic on the Watchpoint pre-show. It's like Dallas Fuel, they're on a 14-match win streak. You know, nothing can go wrong for this team. And I just put it out into the world, just like, well, I'm not willing to call the cycle of misery the circle of misery over until they actually beat the Houston Outlaws on LAN. So they gotta beat Houston Outlaws today to break the circle of misery, and then they ended up losing. So I guess the circle of misery is still very much present, despite the fact that they were on a 14-match win streak. Sorry, Dallas Fuel fans. So yeah, I grinned a little bit there, but you know, I did predict the Dallas Fuel, so I was slightly disappointed that they did lose. Mr. X predicted the
You
Houston
hedged your
Outlaws.
bets. You went both ways.
Well, you know,
gotta win no
I'm a
matter what.
pessimist. If you ever watch like Swedish soccer with me, I am the most pessimistic like soccer fan ever, because I'm like, our team is shit. Of course, it's gonna hit the bar. It's gonna, you know, go bar out. It's never gonna go bar in. You know, I'm always like that. I'm always going to put out like the pessimism out in the world there. Just to hedge my hopium. You know, it's weird how that doesn't apply to my Overwatch takes, but everything else, I hedge my hopium. Anyway. Yeah, I guess there's not a lot to talk about besides the meta. So yeah,
I got to take about Dallas real quick. I have a take about Dallas
for sure.
You got to keep it spicy in the show. So I think I figured it out. It's not that Dallas are a bad team or they're bad at LAN or they're like that. Even they just can't beat Houston because they can beat Houston. I think what it is that Dallas simply can't win in front of their own home crowd. That's it. Other
That's
home crowds,
crazy.
you go to Toronto, they win. You play the first Battle for Texas start of the season, they lose. Like kickoff clash, they lose. This time they lose. I don't know. They can't do it in front of their home crowd. So I wouldn't be too surprised if they could still maybe win the Overwatch League because that's in LA. That's not in front of Dallas. So as long as not too many Dallas fans show up, I think Dallas will be fine.
It's the fans' faults. That's what you're saying. Just
No, I think the teams. It could be the team. I'm not saying it's the fans, but I'm saying the teams. You know, something about this team. They can't do it in front of the Dallas fans.
right.
Just performance anxiety. I don't know.
I've never seen a team have that before. Performance anxiety before their own fans. It's just like the funniest thing ever to me. Just like, oh, we can't win at home because the fans giving us excitement is just too awkward. There's
opposite fan buff. It's the opposite home buff, you know?
Yeah, the opposite home buff. Never heard of that in my life. Let's talk about the match itself. So I was pretty shocked, I have to say, given what we've seen so far this stage. It's been mostly double flex support, a lot of Diva, stuff like that. We have seen some Sorry, of course, this past stage. But right out of the gates, Mirror, Lucio Bap, Sara compositions. What, Custa, was anyone in the restrooms talking about this? Because what the fuck? How did this go down? How did both teams just flex onto this?
As I said, I didn't go into the bathroom. I was afraid of Jake being in there trying to convince me with an Outlaws jersey. So I really just held it the entire time. And then I don't think any of us saw, like, you actually saw bits and pieces of it from, I think it was the Gladiators that started playing it in their match as well. So it's definitely the high end west of scrims had definitely come to some form of conclusion. Someone made a tweet about it from, I think it was Hawk made a tweet about it, saying that like the Lucio Bap and Dante talked about it, of like the Lucio Bap is a meta that really came on like the Thursday or the Friday heading into these matches for the weekend. And they just realized that you have more sustainability. And if you play Overwatch 2, I was playing it yesterday with Baptiste. He does so much healing, like an absurd amount of healing, and your ability to keep your Xayah alive is just more superior. Obviously, the nano's nice, but the amplification matrix is also quite useful in a lot of situations. And I think it nerfs Sombra in a lot of ways, because with Sombra, when you EMP, remember, Baptiste still has that shift, which gives everyone around him 100 health if they're below half health. So that like does a really good job against that as well. So we saw this shift, and Dallas Fuel just refused to play Doha and Sombra. So that must have stopped working in scrims. Like, it's not like they're just like, nah, let's not play Doha for memes.
They didn't play any Sombra, did they?
They didn't play any Doha. They didn't play any Sombra the entire series. And they also didn't play any Fearless Winston. And that might have been map pool dependent, or maybe just this Xayah Lucio Baptiste is the superior comp. We won't really ever know, because we're at the end of this stage and we won't see the best teams play it anymore. But I think it was sort of an interesting shift at the last second, and sort of goes to show that a meta is never really truly defined until like a few weeks, until you give it a lot of time for people to solve everything.
Yeah, I mean, we even
Good
saw
state for the game to be in, right?
Yeah.
Well, like, the meta shifts like from week to week, maybe once every couple of weeks, kind of thing, when new things are being kind of discovered, or like, oh, actually, this makes way more sense here. I 100% get what you mean, Scott, too, with like playing solo queue with Bap and Ana, because Ana right now I'm having like, I wouldn't say a lot of trouble, but like if there's a good D.Va on the enemy team, you just die. Well, which happens a lot anyway, because D.Va's kind of strong, but your shift is just so fucking good. It's like instant health, heals people around you, obviously, and it can't get fucking eaten. So, like, it's such a strong ability, and I don't think at the moment we're probably going to stray away from the Batiste. I think again, Lamp also is just an incredible ability that just stops so much bullshit. So,
Yeah.
Also, the damage buff came out of fucking left field. Like, I don't know why he got damage buff.
yeah,
Like, I
that
don't
is
think
true.
that was necessary at all. Like, I don't think anyone was like, oh, Baptiste doesn't do enough damage with his left click. So you put that in the hands of players like Shu, like, of course they're going to dominate on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we even saw some teams in APAC pick it up, AVRL, right? Like, I think I saw like Chengdu Hunters pick it up as well. Lucio Bap. There were a few instances of that, so.
I might need to check the VODs again. I'm pretty sure they're still mainly playing like either double flick support, Zen Ana, and also Lucio Ana on some maps. I think they're still, maybe it's a bit 50-50. They definitely have a lot of teams that are still playing Lucio Ana.
I saw it get picked up, which was interesting, because I'm like, who would have brought Lucio Bap into APAC? Like, I don't typically see, like, you know, I would understand some Western teams picking up like Lucio Bap and like rushing in, stuff like that, right? But APAC historically, like, I didn't expect Chengdu, for example, to bring out Lucio Bap in that fashion, perhaps. So
yeah, I mean, you even still have like Seoul and Philly. We saw there again. They played a lot of Winston too, so they were playing like Brigana. So stuff is still
profit on Ana for a map.
maybe, yeah, just for one, just for an outing, just for a bit of a lulz. Yeah, I mean, like if you, it's funny because Dragons are playing like the Ana Zen, but then you're right, Monk comes out on a BAP. They do a Lucio BAP, and I don't know where they got that from either, as well, because I don't know how many Asian teams are actually playing something like that. Maybe they got some inspiration from NA, and they're like, yo, we could try this out. They're definitely playing more off tanks. I think the deeper we get into this meta, the more the Asian teams in the East are slowly shifting towards the NA style comps.
Yeah, it definitely feels like that is the meta that we're getting ourselves into as we draw closer to the playoffs. It is worth mentioning that, of course, some of these teams who have now qualified for the playoffs, the rumor is that they've just already committed to scrimming on the Kiriko patch, because we know that Kiriko is going to be in the playoffs itself. Like, what's the point to scrim this meta any longer? There's probably, someone asked me in my Twitch chat yesterday, like, do you expect some balance changes as well with Kiriko? And I don't see why they would not balance the game along with Kiriko being introduced as well. You know, that happened with Junker Queen. Like, Junker Queen was introduced and was really overpowered, but we also saw some changes being made to the overall roster of all the other heroes. So I'm expecting a few changes from the current patch in the game once Kiriko gets announced, but it's just superior for these top teams to start screaming on that patch already. So maybe we'll abandon the Lucio BAP. We'll see where we go on that. I do want to touch on that slightly though. Do we think that after playing Kiriko as well, especially for a week, do we think that Kiriko stands a chance? Do we think Kiriko is going to be played in the playoffs? Because personally, I almost think we're not going to see any Kiriko in the playoffs. But I want to hear from especially Joss and Custa, two support players who hover around Grandmaster and has tried out the hero extensively.
You want to go first, Jack?
Yeah. I'm kind of agreeing with you, Johnny, because when you think of like what we're playing right now, we'll say like the Ana Lucio or Ana Zen or Batiste Zen, the amount of healing those two supports, BAP and Ana, can pump out is quite absurd, especially for Ana Nade, you know, then you spam people heals. Batiste obviously just general shift, fucking spam right click is pretty sick. Kiriko doesn't heal nearly as much, or at least it doesn't feel like she heals nearly as much. And her playstyle, what I found at least, and this is obviously only in quick play, and I don't know how good the players are that I'm playing against. And like when we all jumped in on quick play on day number 1, you know, it was fun as fuck, but it's hard to really grasp. For me, it's like, okay, the game plan in my head would be a flanker goes Genji Tracer, they fucking jump to the backline, and then you fucking TP to them, you're healing them, and then you execute the backline, you even use your invuln, and then you can just teleport back. Like, that's how I think, at least in like ranked people will probably play her like a more aggressive backline DPS Moira, where like with Bap and Ana, it's way more like sustained focus and you want to be able to keep up your tank. I don't think Kiriko is going to be able to keep up with the amount of healing and like stuff you need to pump into a tank to keep them alive, especially against someone like a Zen and a lot of upfront damage right now. Tanks do have a lot of survivability, double bubble, Matrix lasting for like 7 years. But yeah, I just don't really see where she fits in unless you go super hyper aggressive dive. Lucio with Kiriko, Tracer Genji, Diva, and you just fucking run at the back line. And you use your Kiriko TP to just TP to the back and then TP to a Lucio that is running off. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what you think, Scott, but yeah, with the amount of utility she has, yeah, the Invun's pretty damn good. It feels like you're not in a situation ever where you can get mad value out of it. You might as well just use it on yourself and your flank a DPS to kill a support and then run away. Like that's my grasp on it, but then I've not played it in ranked. So
I agree with you. I think that the only way that she makes sense is when you are diving with your team. I think her her heals is actually surprisingly more than you would assume. So I think Kiriko actually could keep up her tank. Like if you're going with a Winston or a Diva, I think she can actually do a pretty good job with that. I agree that your invulnerability is primarily going to be used on yourself for the most part, unless someone's getting hit by an ultimate or something like that. And what it does is it allows you to play aggressively and make you a target that people don't want to go. Because one of the big things is she doesn't have much going for her once she's teleported in, right? So it's a big problem if you teleport in and then people could just run you down. So having that self-invulnerability gives you the option to be able to like stay alive and make you not the major target. I think it's really cool. My big problem with the way that she does things, she doesn't have any offensive utility and her damage is incredibly inconsistent. I think the 3x headshot multiplier is very dangerous to put in the game because, first of all, for most people, they're not going to be able to hit that. But for the high end, you could potentially just murder people or do no damage in the same vein. I would prefer to see it go to a 50 damage flat with a 2.5x critical and go to 125 damage if you headshot. It's like 5 more damage in the crit, so it doesn't matter that much. But then also it gives you more value for going for body shots because like I was dealing with a wrecking ball as a Kiriko and I'm just fucking tickling him to death. Like it's not really doing anything because he doesn't have a head hitbox and there are some other characters like that. While like an Orisa, I can just murder because her head hitbox is the size of a planet. My other problem with Kiriko is we talked about how her dive viability that's her biggest strength that she follows. Her ultimate is not conducive to that because you are high mobility, high movement, all that kind of stuff. People generally are just going to run out of your ultimate for the most part. And people are going to run away from your ultimate in those kind of metas. So I found it difficult to find value with the ultimate, especially with the heroes that you would be playing that with, right? It's obviously great on like Soldier, like, you know, the Roadhog ultimates, anywhere one who's shooting really fast goes crazy. But that doesn't really happen as much. So I think she needs some minor tweaks. I think she's incredibly fun, like unreasonably fun. But do I think she'll be good in Overwatch League? In her current state, I don't think so.
Yeah, you're kind of on the same lines as me, because when I was playing her, all I was doing with that invuln thing, again, I don't know what the SR of the players I'm playing against, so it's like a bit more difficult to say.
Yeah,
but
that's
like,
a good point as well.
I'm TPing to the back with a Tracer. I maybe not use it instantly, but like I'm teleporting and then I fucking see the back line. I'm right clicking. Maybe I miss a couple. If I hit one, maybe the Tracer finishes them off. They all look at me. I invuln and then I TP away.
Yeah.
And that's how I was playing, because the TP has like a sizable distance. Plus, obviously, it goes through walls and shit too. So I remember on Colosseo specifically, I was teleporting like through 3 different buildings. Almost across the map, just the way it's kind of laid out. Yeah, which is insane.
On a 6-second cooldown? 7-second cooldown or something like that? Like, yeah.
Which, when you put it into perspective, when you have the invuln thing too, you fucking TP, you survive for a couple of seconds, invuln, and then another couple of seconds passes, and then you can teleport away again. Her mobility is ridiculous, plus you can walk line. So
walk line is a big survivability tool as well, like that people don't utilize. Of like, you're like, think about how hard it is to attack a Genji who just consistently keeps jumping up walls every time you're trying to shoot at them. Like, people don't use it enough, but it is going to be
it. And I'm not against this at all. It is going to be a hero that is, if it gets buffed in any kind of way, or like, to be fair, even in solo queue, because solo queue is way more random, that's going to be very good at the top level, and then absolutely shit in like lower
people are going to troll at low
ranks.
ranks.
You can't you need aim to be effective. Otherwise, you're just turning into. You might as well play Mercy at that point because you're healing. It's not that difficult to hit. You just kind of have to be around where that person is, and the cards then follow them. And when they touch them, it heals them. But your damage output, you might as well be blue beaming somebody. Or Moira, to be fair. You might as well just be right clicking somebody because it's infinitely easy to hit.
I was going to say.
And I'm definitely not against that because you do need some sort of disparity where like some heroes, and this is the first time user experience, right? Some heroes are meant for like people that are getting into an FPS or like don't want to treat Overwatch like a proper like hardcore first person shooter where they're a little bit easier on the aiming side of things. But then you also have the heroes like Sojourn, Ashe, Widow, Zen, like that need a lot of mechanical skill to be very good at a top level. But I'm not sure really where she kind of fits in with like who else you'd pick with her too because of the way her kit works. She's cool as fuck though. I love it. But
yeah, I've heard of her being described as a Moira replacement.
I win. I said it.
Yeah, Johnny did say that. I do remember Johnny saying
back.
it.
Specifically played in like, you know, literally a Lucio Moira comp, but you just replace Moira with Kiriko. The way I've had it described to me is like, you know, just her ability to get vertical, even without having to use her shift, is pretty nuts because the wall climb. And she's just so safe. Like she's so much safer than Moira as well. And like if you're gonna smoke another team, like you think about what a Lucio Moira comp does. We all know what it does. Rush knows what it does. You drop the Suzu down, and your whole team can just be invulnerable. Like certain members of your team, importantly, can be invulnerable. So you can certainly get out of jail free in certain cases as well. Yeah, I've had her described in that sort of way. It's hard. The most dangerous thing about Kiriko right now is we have no idea if she's any good because she's not in ranked. So we have no ranked data at all. Which is all the other scary thing about that is that like as far as Team 4, the development team says like, oh yeah, you know, we're gonna monitor her and we're gonna adjust her so that she's not gonna be OP when she's eventually in ranked or whatever. We're about to play in the Overwatch League in the playoffs and finals. We have no data from ranked, and by the time she gets ranked, it's like kind of too late. I mean, we're gonna get to the stage where we're already
when does she hit ranked?
No matter what.
It's 2 weeks, right?
It's probably another week from now. I think
it's another week from now.
So I mean.
The best gauge is our players right now. Like, our players are playing on scrims probably.
But our patch is solidified. Like, even if she is busted, we have to play that patch. So, like, our patch is currently not going to change for playoffs. We've locked that patch in. So I don't think she's going to be. She doesn't seem OP to me, but I didn't think Jungkook was going to be OP either. So it's just so hard to tell sometimes.
We knew was going to be broken.
But not that broken. Not that broken.
No, as soon as I was Zenyatta with 300 health, as soon as I was a Zenyatta with 300 health, I'm like, this is broken. Like,
okay, cool. It's broken for the Zenyatta, but then like
it's broken for every character, dude. Scott was fucking shouting my ass when I was playing Genji. I jumped into the lane.
Let's get stuck on Junker Queen.
Easy as fuck.
We've been stunlocked by Junker Queen for a whole stage. I don't want to go back there. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I think her ultimate has a lot of potential. Like, I still think her ultimate, to me, maybe this is a pleb take because I'm not a high rank support player, but her ultimate to me seems like a team nano. Like your whole team just gets nano for a little bit, obviously without the damage reduction, but everyone's like raw DPS output increases by a lot just inside that ult, and it lasts for a long time as well. So you're just fully nanoed up your whole team, including yourself.
It charges unreasonably quick as well. That ultimate, like if you're just pumping heals into your tank, like you get it really quick. My problem with it is the same issue with BAP window. Like BAP window is theoretically overpowered. Everyone shoots 200% damage through it, right? Like, but
it feels way more counterable
away from, right?
It feels way more counterable, the BAP window, whereas this like Kiriko ultimate's huge. Covers so much ground, and you can just like, and the damage output is so consistent because you're not stuck standing behind this BAP window to get you to get value. You can be anywhere inside this AoE, and the AoE is gigantic. And because you're so fast as well, you can just fly at people.
To put the ultimate into perspective, let me ask this. So like Custa, someone pulls out like the nanovisor, like you probably trans, drop the sound barrier, try to keep alive. If a Kiriko drops her Kitsune rush, as a support player, do you invest the sound barrier, the trans? Do you feel confident about your team's ability to stay alive against an ultimate like that?
Depends on how it's been put down, and this sort of goes back to the fact that I haven't seen it be used very valuable. But like when I was playing it, I dropped a couple, and I was like, that was straight fucking useless. Like that didn't really help anyone. But then I've had one where I dropped it and then their entire team just evaporates. I would say the major weakness of the Kiriko like Kitsune Rush or whatever it is, it doesn't provide you any defensive benefits. So I've seen a lot of people get Kitsune Rush and they're like, I'm overpowered. And then they just like run into the middle of the opposition team and they just fall over and die. So it's like, I think people will get really good with it. And I agree on like maps like Control, where you can just use that to engage onto a point. It's very difficult to fight into that, and it will be a big team fight ultimately.
Yeah.
Even if you're dangerous, if it's dangerous, like you could die during it. Your whole team is getting so much extra DPS output, and I think you trade up no matter what. I think it's just an ultimate you can trade up value quite easily, and you can win team fights.
France with certain abilities with that Kiriko.
If you have a good ultimate, like have you seen a Kiriko visor? Like the
Kiriko visor, fucking
dude just never stops shooting.
DPS, right? Like how much? Sorry? How much? Someone do the fucking math.
Whatever the attack speed is, and his reload is even faster.
Yeah, but like what? Like what's the DPS of that? Because Trance is 300 HPS.
It was a lot. I actually experimented with Nano Visor in Kitsune Rush.
Okay, that definitely does more than 300 DPS.
Yeah, like, that was a lot of damage.
I think it's cooldowns. I think cooldowns as well. Like it's everything. Like even the Kiriko user, if you use the ultimate. Now your teleport and your everything, your cooldowns are just like way quicker, so your mobility just increases. You can't die now. Well, you could hardly die before. She's a very safe hero, but now with the cooldown reduction, your teleport just comes back up. I can imagine.
Whenever I hear
is this Reinforced Gaming on TikTok?
Reinforced on TikTok, bro.
Oh,
that's fucking crazy.
TikTok, Pog. But you can't really see, but I just annihilate people. Like they just.
Yeah. To be fair. Not trying to plug my own TikTok. I did put a clip on my TikTok actually of Zen. Have you fucking used Zen? Just left click.
Dude, it's like a rocket
in Kitsune. Yeah. It's like boom, 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 boom. Dude's giving you the fucking hands, bro. Like,
yeah,
it's a big insane shit. It's fun as fuck. Whether it's balanced, I don't know. But I think trading up there, like you were saying, AVRL, I think you just hit trance, hit beat, or like even Lucio. I'm gonna be real, because you gain. It's like Lucio's what the fuck is the shift called? You know, when he fucking switches songs, whatever the fuck it's called. You still gain a little bit of that speed or healing, like when you shift for like a small moment of time, right? And with Kitsune Rush, it's the same thing. If you step out of it, you have it for like a second or like half a second or something. So with like Lucio, you could potentially run away with it using just amp, but I think it's just going to be another ult that you just have to trance, you have to beat.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
you're going to have to defensively ulted.
Yeah, you have to. Otherwise, you're just going to get rolled. And this is where I think maybe like a Lucio Kiriko backline makes the most sense.
I agree.
Go with this hyper dive because when they Kitsune, it's like, dude, we're back to like, you do this, I do this, you do this, I do this. But it's like, which isn't a bad thing. But like Kitsune Rush, beat. And then they Kitsune Rush, you beat, you know? Like that's going to be the kind of thing that you need to follow if you're a support player. Like you're probably not going to be beating the Blades. People don't really beat Blades that often anymore. They're just too easy to kind of focus down if Genji's played. But yeah, I think as viability as support lines go, Kiriko Lucio seems like the most viable from the top of my head.
Yeah, I agree. You need a self-sufficient support because otherwise you just teleport forward and like you leave your Zen to dry and like a Tracer's just going to run them over. You need a self-sufficient support of some kind. I don't think Brig is it. I don't think Brig is going to be useful enough. So it's sort of like Lucio, Kiriko. And then I thought about like what tanks would I want to see with that Kiriko. And it pretty much boils down to like Winston. It's like I want to see a Winston bubble when I go aggressively. So my Kiriko or my team can like dive around the Winston bubble. I don't think D.Va probably is going to be. D.Va. You think D.Va in her current stage? Sure, yeah. With defense matrix.
D.Va fire rate plus fly cooldown reduction. You can just fly
and
over
micro missiles, which is she's already fucking busted.
She's crazy good.
If you play Lucio Kiriko D.Va versus Lucio Kiriko Winston, your Winston's gonna die.
That is true. That is true.
His head hitbox is so large too, and Kiriko's left click or right click does 3x headshot. Like, the easiest motherfucker to kill in the world, Winston. And
Zarya's not bad either. Like, can you imagine
could be good,
cooldown reduction on bubbles?
The bubbles? Oh, yeah.
But But like, remember, I think people get
Yeah,
into
thinking
a lot
about
of I think people are like, oh, is Kiriko Roadhog going to be meta? Have you seen what you can do with whole hog Kiriko?
Hog
It's
sucks
like,
for 80% of the
and
map.
you're like, yeah, for that 10% of the time, 5% of the time in which you can use that combo, it's going to be great. What about the other 95% of the time of that match, right? Like, and like there is incredible combos left and right with Casino Rush, but it comes like there's so many of them that I think playing a certain tank around that is not going to make sense.
The neutral in Overwatch 2 is because they nerfed ult charge, like it's way more prevalent. Like you're not in like old Overwatch 1, like there was a lot of metas that it was just we ult. That is it. That is the only thing we do. We build ult fast and then we go in and ult. Like in Overwatch 2, they did reduce the ultimate charge rate, so it's more about the neutral than it's been in like a long time. So
yeah. We'll see what happens. I feel like we're a few changes away from Kiriko being meta, but we'll see. Maybe the Overwatch League team surprise. I will say statistically, in 50% of the Overwatch League playoffs, we've had a Roadhog meta. So, you know, two out of four. First season 1, we had the Roadhog flex support. Custa is cringing out of his mind right now. And 2020 playoffs, they wanted to change up the patch just to like have a new, fresh kind of fun meta for the playoffs, right? So we had a Roadhog meta in 2020. So 2 out of the 4 playoffs, we had a Roadhog meta. Maybe 3 out of 5. 3 out of 5. You know, Roadhog, Kiriko. No.
Probably should just delete Hog from the game, but yeah.
I also think there's a world in which we're just overthinking it. Like we're talking about, Kitsune Rush versus Kitsune Rush, all that kind of stuff. There's a world in which you just play Lucio Babzaya again, and the amount of damage that you can dive with is just nothing compared to the sustainability and the damage that Sojin can just one tap Kiriko, right? Like there's no, if you have good enough aim, Kiriko might just offer nothing. So it's like
I find that very likely that we're going to have Lucio Babzaya meta, and I think a lot of people are going to be disappointed by that.
Yeah,
I think she's also a hero that is going to take a long time to get actually good with. So that teams are probably going to be disincentivized to run with Kiriko unless someone's just an absolute freak on her. Like because she's such a high skill ceiling hero. Like I don't think there's a fucking chance unless there's some like, oh my god, actually this is really strong, and we don't need to play Kiriko near her kind of full potential, which won't happen when a hero is just released. To be fair, but you're thinking Overwatch League players are going to get near there every single week that kind of passes, and they kind of scrim on that patch. But yeah, she might not be at a state where pros feel comfortable enough to run those kind of. I think we'll probably end up seeing it. In what capacity, I don't know. I think some teams probably will end up pulling it out just to surprise people in a way, but not sure about how much that will be though.
I will say when that team finally comes around, and it'll probably be sometime next year, where they like master the Kiriko teleport dive stuff and like lining up people for Kiriko to teleport to, I'm just gonna crown them like the best Overwatch player in the world ever.
Yeah,
that's going to be amazing to witness, like amazing Kiriko dives. I will say this, I will put this out into the world. If you nano a Kiriko and right click melee, that's an insta give 200 health. So, you know, enjoy your nano Kiriko dives with right-click melee.
Also, PSA, if you're a Kiriko player and you're dealing with the pesky traces, headshot melee kills it one-shot the tracer melee, in the same way discorded Zen does the same thing. So, fuck them up. Fuck traces.
Yeah.
Out of here, we hate
True. Yo, true.
Get them out of here.
Chat right now. Come at me and Scott.
Fuck tracers. You'll be seeing more of that on my TikTok. That Luke in the Twitch YouTube chat, it was like, there's no way there's a reinforced TikTok. Hey, reinforced gaming, check it out on TikTok. Yeah, I started last week at like 5 videos on there. Let's go. Jaws features heavily in my TikTok clips. So, you know, check out the reinforced gaming TikTok. There you go.
Which I shouldn't, by the way, because as you all know, there's an ongoing feud between me and Johnny. We've hated each other for the longest time now.
That's a new narrative.
I don't know what to tell you. This has gone back generations. The Swedish versus the British. That's why me and Johnny hate each other. I'm not sure if have they ever had a war. I'm not sure, but
it's crazy how that happens. When I casted with Mitch in Dallas, people were like, why is Matt not casting with Mitch? Does Mitch hate Matt?
Mitch hates Matt.
Does Mitch hate Matt? It's like, no, it's just Matt hates traveling too.
I will say this: Matt hates LAX. That's what he hates.
Yeah. To kind of put a bit of sense to that kind of comment. Obviously, it was a copy pasta. I like ended stream or some shit. I went into Bren's chat just to troll him a little bit, and people were like, "You know that someone on Reddit thinks you hate Johnny, right?" And I'm like, "What?" Like, I do a podcast with every fucking week. Like, you know, we're fucking good friends. And they're like, oh yeah, and they would spam the copy pasta or whatever. I think a lot of that comes from, and I kind of see the person's reasoning behind why they think I might dislike Johnny, which I don't. But there's a
I am pretty
delay.
dislikable. So,
but no, you're not. You're lovable, bro. Big Swedish giant, bro.
Man.
But there's a delay between like the casters and the desk. So sometimes you'll find it where like we're talking in my ear. I'm always talking over somebody else.
Yeah.
Or like
same in the truck. Yeah.
There's a delay, and we can't get rid of it. It fucking blows, but like that's what it is, and that's why it might seem like there's a little bit of fucking tension, or like I'm trying to talk over Johnny, like Rose is trying to talk over somebody else, or like some shit like that. So yeah, it's I did find it really fucking funny though.
That's also honestly the hardest part of the entire show is cross talking and talking to the casters, because the delay is brutal for both ends.
Of the show too.
Yeah.
It's one of the best parts of the show, and the delay just kind of booms it because it's not something you can control, and it's like it kind of fucks up. You're trying to like tell a joke or like, you know, have banter with someone else, and it's just like how in real
you're about to say something funny, and then someone starts talking over you at the same time, and you're like, oh fuck, I couldn't say my joke now because someone's already talking.
So like, yeah, it's like, oh, how do I navigate this situation? Yeah, it's so there's a little heads up, there's a little inside sneak peek Easter egg for you viewers out there.
It's even in casting though. There's like a tiny bit of delay. People are like, oh man, AVRL keeps cutting off Achilles. I'm like, it's the actual fucking latency, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's when I casted with Jack earlier in the year, we were doing an online one, and someone messaged me like, hey Custa, I love your cast. Just so you know, I know you're new to this, I thought I'd give a little bit of feedback. You should try not speaking over Jack. It feels like you're cutting him off every time.
You got fansplained.
And I was like, oh yeah, thanks, I appreciate it. But that's just the technology, the limitations of the technology, that there's like in our conversation where we're like, it's like a Discord call, right? Where you can hear each other going back and forth. But imagine if that Discord call was being sent to a third party, and then the conversation wasn't as linear as it is for a normal one. That's what is happening sometimes with the cast. And that's why sometimes, you know, it gets pushed in a different direction where it feels like AVRL or a caster is reacting to something that has already happened, that hasn't happened yet, or is reacting to something very late to something that has happened.
I thought that was AVRL was a prophet. I think he just saw a second into the future.
I thought AVRL would be like, oh my god, that shot. I'm like, what shot? And then someone dies. I'm like, oh my god, that shot.
I had a feeling Proper was gonna land. You know how it is. You know how it be.
Well, the funny thing about that too is that when me and Scott are like, you know, when the co-casters cast together, we hear each other in real time, basically. And we have the feed synced up in real time. It's just when that all gets put together and then pushed, that's when like there's micro discrepancies that really start to shine. So like, I'm never talking over Scott. Scott's never talking over me or Rose or whoever. It's just the kind of, online broadcast, baby.
Yeah, here we go.
Yeah. Hopefully more elements. I mean, I've said it like 50 times throughout the season, but you know, it's fun. There is one more LAN event I want to cover. This is going to be the last topic, I think, of recapping all the matches this past week. Unless you guys can come up with some kind of match where there was like a big narrative, something came out of it, something interesting. But there was, of course, almost like a homestand in APAC region as well. Seoul Dynasty, they hosted the Philadelphia Fusion. Philadelphia Fusion surprisingly took Seoul to map 5 without Zest in the lineup. Carpe filled in, of course. Zest had this thing on as well. I can't remember from where. I think it was Roston actually on Twitter who did say that Zest, no, maybe it was Zest himself, who said that he is okay and he is looking to play in the playoffs. So I wouldn't worry that Carpe is going to like fill in for the rest of the year or something. It didn't seem that serious. No bones are broken is what I thought I heard. So there was temporary Carpe fill in here for map 5. But a fun little event here, AVRL, in the APAC region.
And not only, I mean, yeah, amazing because like finally you get a LAN event in Asia. And I think I really enjoyed the league has sort of spiced up the whole Seoul versus Philly thing over there, because obviously they're both teams in Korea. There's a content team on the ground in Korea that's doing stuff. I don't know if you guys seen some of the content pieces they've done. Just even like fun little skits they've done between the two teams. And they finally got them to play against each other. And I was like waiting. I was like, man, they do a lot of content between these two teams. I'd love to see them actually play in an arena if they can. And they did. So a great thing for the actual APAC fans, especially in Korea. It's just a shame that with still COVID restrictions in China, you didn't get a homestand this year. We kind of did the reversal last year, right? Last year, Asia got all the homestands, and now this year, NA got all the homestands. I was most impressed by the fact that, first of all, Fusion played close to Seoul, but also, man, like, rumors of Carpe's death have been greatly exaggerated because he was still popping off. I was like, wow, I was surprised by how good Carpe was. I probably shouldn't have been, but man, like I feel like, I think Johnny, you see this on Watch, but it was like Carpe kind of struggled over the year, but he really showed up in this match like a big time. And yeah, I thought that was great. I thought a different duo as well, Carpe and 3, because usually Zest never gets subbed out. Here, Zest had to get subbed out. And I don't think we really saw Carpe Tracer over the year as well, because he normally covered, he had M3's hero pool. They both play the hit scans. And again, because Zest never gets subbed out.
I mean, they
Zest
did give him a fair shake. They gave Carpe a shot throughout the season, definitely. Right?
Played a few times on a few different heroes, but never really, I feel like he never really went on the Tracer all that much.
Yeah. Oh, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah,
because his hit scan just isn't better than MN3's. Like these days, like he really struggled with the caliber of hit scan players these days. He struggled, but his Tracer actually looked very good. I think the problem is just that MN3 and Zest, I think as a duo, generally outperform Carpe on any hero if you like distribute them around. But I agree, Carpe is a great player, very flexible player to have as your third. Like I think he had a great match.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was very impressive how well they played on this like double flex support composition, right? It feel like finally like the Fusion are in their groove now and they're looking good ahead of the playoffs. And then we see this Zarya Lucio back composition come out, and all I can think about is like, oh no. Like, no, don't tell me the Fusion look this good heading into the playoffs, and then like their composition is going to go out the window as well. How excited are you about the Fusion going into the playoffs, AVRL? Do you think like they actually have a contenders, not a contenders, but like a contention chance with some of the best teams around the world if they play this comp?
I think the more they play Fury and the more they stick to like a Zarya Diva kind of look, the better it is. I am starting to, personally for me, shift away from the Winston stuff, so I'd like to see them play less Balsaria. So yeah, I think double flex support's good because I've been surprised by how reasonable Fixer has been on that other flex support. Now I don't know about I guess I could do Lucio BAP as well because Aim God can play the BAP and Fixer as a Lucio player. Zesk is always high carry potential. I mean, Fusion do well in playoff scenarios. I mean, they look like the weakest APAC team coming into mid-season madness, and they ended up placing the best out of all the APAC teams. They've surprised in all the tournaments so far. They did not look great in Summer Showdown, yet they still qualified anyway. They've been surprising the entire year. I think they're the type of team that is like a serious dark horse. Like, I think if you look at what if you consider what the definition of a dark horse team is, Fusion fit that kind of perfectly because their peaks are so unbelievably high. You just can't underestimate this team. So I look to see what they can do in terms of upsetting teams. But as far as like consistency goes, that's their biggest weakness so far throughout the entire year. I don't know if they can be consistent all 6 days of a playoffs and make it all the way to the end. If they do, probably come second. That'd be nice. Yeah, I think they'll probably upset 1 or 2 teams. Like they'll go into a match and all the NA fans will be like, yeah, we're going to smoke the Fusion. And then you'd be surprised, you might actually lose them.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I mean, we're going to have a couple of play-in teams as well from the Western region. So whether that's like, the Washington Justice, Boston Uprising, it's going to be Toronto or London. I'm pretty sure in that play-ins as well. So, a couple of those teams will make it to the playoffs itself. And, those are teams that I very much think that Fusion could beat. And then you start the play-in or playoffs round rather in the lower bracket, upper bracket. They can definitely compete with some of those teams. Hell, even the Houston Outlaws at times, right? I know the Houston Outlaws are like the #1 rated team right now because they beat Dallas Fuel as well. But like, they haven't been great so far in tournaments, and maybe you catch them at the right time, and suddenly the Fusion, they find themselves with like 2-3 wins in the playoffs, right? So definitely a perfect dark horse in that regard. Were there any great takeaways besides that you think this past week, AVRL? I feel like we got the play-in bracket we got to talk about, of course. We have that coming up, but Shanghai Dragons, maybe? Before
we move on, Avril, have we got an update on Zest? I know Rosson said that it was like an injury and that they'd update us. Have we been given that update of like what his expectation is?
I thought I mentioned that.
I can check Roston's Twitter now. I've not seen it update.
I thought I read that like he didn't break a bone or anything, so he's going to play in the playoffs. He's looking forward to playing in the playoffs.
Oh, really? Okay.
That's what I read.
Yeah, Roston hasn't given a further update yet.
Oh.
Where did you get that from then, Johnny? Yeah, because I haven't seen anything.
Maybe
I just
a bottom comment on Reddit. I don't know.
I would like to inform everyone that Zest is okay. Don't worry, guys.
I swear I read that somewhere. Oh god, now I don't want to spread misinformation, but
I haven't seen anything through the official Fusion channels from any of the fellas. But I don't know. They don't seem too concerned. I have no idea. I don't want to speculate too hard anymore. I honestly have no idea. So I hope he does get to play because he's an MVP candidate and a very good player.
Yeah, there was a Q&A after the show match somewhere.
Okay.
And I think that is where... Great call. Thank you, Base Bird, in the Twitch chat or YouTube chat. I keep saying Twitch chat. Yeah. There was a Q&A and there was like two Cest, is your arm going to be okay? And Cest responded, yeah, I slipped today morning because it was raining. I went to the ER. There's nothing wrong with my bones, so I'll definitely be playing for playoffs.
Oh, so just probably just a bruise. Okay. It looked like he had a cast on, but maybe he just had it wrapped.
Might just been
it looks like a cast of some kind.
Yeah, because if it was a cast, there's no way he's coming back in a cast in like 3 weeks, right?
Dude, you could play. Can you imagine playing in a cast?
Depends what arm. You know, he could just like claw grip the keyboard.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, that'll do.
Optimistic for sure. Yeah, Custa, you seem to think that the Shanghai Dragons are back. Obviously, they're not playing in the play-ins, so who knows? Maybe the meta will change up. But a quick few words here on the Shanghai Dragons, Custa. Defend your number 2 ranking of the Shanghai Dragons in your power ranking.
I'm just so sick of just doing power rankings because every fucking fan just wants you to put what the standings are right now. If I had just gone up there and put the standings of the West and the standings of the East and been, look at my power rankings, people would have been like... True, fucking genius. True.
I'm gonna do that.
Yeah, you should do that, and I think people will be like applaud you for being a genius. But like in reality, like I think Houston Outlaws, I think they have to go number 1, but Shanghai Dragons at number 2. Yes, they beat weak teams, but they beat them decisively. They having Bebe being able to play that Baptiste, they looked like a much better team playing around that. They're only playing Void at this point. They, Fleta had a better game. Like. Shanghai still have a championship caliber roster, and I think that they are always going to do that. Yes, Guangzhou Charge had a very good stage, and I am, a big Guangzhou Charge fan, but I'm doing my power rankings for not just this meta. I'm going into the tournament of the next one. And if Guangzhou Charge and Piggy can't play Xayah, I am not sold that this team has the versatility to be able to play other things in the same way that Shanghai Dragons does, in the fact that they have Fade on the bench, that they have Who Are You on the Genji and stuff like that. So that's generally my thing. Like, we're not going into a tournament, so I'm not trying to rank everyone for this upcoming tournament. It's really just a gut check right there. And also the power rankings that I did, there is literally no tier breaks because APAC doesn't make sense. You cannot put a coherent list together because we just saw Seoul lose to Spark. Literally, my number 1 in my power rankings versus the number 7 in my power rankings. Why aren't people mad about that, right? Like, if you're going off of pure results-based things. Like, it is going off of my idea and my opinion of where I stake the teams at this point, which is what power rankings should be. Community. It's not just about, the recent results. It should be about, your belief in teams and how much optimism you have for them.
That was a good rant. Custa. I appreciate that.
Flip it.
All right.
Hey, bro.
You know what? I can tell you why Shanghai is going to pop off in the playoffs.
Oh boy, here we go. I saw Avro for like 5 seconds. He was thinking like, do I say it? Here we go. Give it to me.
So when they finally land in LA and they stabilize, they don't have to wake up early anymore.
Oh, that's crazy.
That's crazy.
That is
once that happens, they're going to pop the fuck off.
I'm excited to see everyone in LAN. It's gonna be lit.
The only reason they didn't do well in mid-season
Custa.
is because they had to wake up early. So now that disadvantage is gone, rigged tournament, by the way, APAC had to wake up early. When that disadvantage is gone, then I think they're gonna be good.
Is that why Seoul lost in the mid-season tournament as well? They had to get up too early?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
All right, there we go.
Heard it here first, everybody.
We got it covered.
League is rigged.
We got it covered. Let's talk about the play-ins then for the APAC region, because they finished their regular season games, which feels crazy to say that like the APAC region has finished their regular season games for this season, and we got the last week of the Western regular season games coming up as well, and then we're done with the regular season of 2022, which is nuts. But the play-ins are bound this coming week. We got the Guangzhou Charge taking on the Chengdu Hunters, and waiting because of their incredible season so far, the Hangzhou Spark are waiting in the wings to take on the Guangzhou Charge or the Chengdu Hunters for a spot in the playoffs. What's up?
You know what the most Hangzhou thing that could happen right now is they win and they go to the playoffs.
Yeah.
That would be the most Hangzhou Spark thing ever.
That would be epic.
To reiterate, I don't know if this... Was this before or after the win against Seoul? I reiterated this stats on the Watchpoint broadcast this past week, and I can't remember if it was with or without the Seoul win. But in their last 14 matches, they're 2-12. The Hangzhou Spark in the last 14 are 2-12, and my brain does not compute. That is absolutely like atrociously poor.
Valiant has a better record than that.
They actually did. They actually do.
Yeah. The Valiant. Look, hey, yo, talking about
something. 3-3, right?
Yeah, I said this in the WhatsApp group yesterday. The Valiant are 3-3 since Snow Hill left the team. They're mid since Snow Hill left. Now they might have only beat pretty like Guangzhou and Chengdu or whatever. I don't think they beat anyone good, or actually they did. Maybe I don't know. The Valiant 3-3. There you go. 2-12. The Hangzhou Spark. I mean, the Paris. They're on par with Paris right now.
They're gonna make it.
I can't believe it.
But they did beat Seoul.
Yeah, Paris didn't win 2 games this season, did they?
No, but I'm talking about the past 14 matches. Paris might be 1-12.
Right. 1-11. Yeah.
My serious take is I think Guangzhou are the best team in that bracket. 100%.
Yeah, I think so as well. In this meta, as I said, like Guangzhou are definitely very good in this meta right now. Like they look really comfortable. I think Piggy's playing great on the Xayah. Like Guangzhou are my favorites to make it out of the play-ins.
They're in the right meta as well. Like you're in a perfect off-tank meta where Piggy can carry the fuck out of this team. And everyone is playing heroes that they are very good at. Xerneas has been unbelievably good. He's so good. Actually, one of the best supports in APAC. And I'm a little annoyed, and I think Chengdu should be a little bit annoyed as well, because when this guy's not watching anime during scrims, he's a monster. And I think, if you're Chengdu, what are you meant to do? Because you have to punish this guy. You have to have some sort of disciplinary action. I get why they drop Xerneas, right? It makes sense. But the issue is, I can tell Xerneas is the type of guy where he gets dropped for very legitimate reasons, and then he gets motivated, then he gets good again, and then Chengdu's like, why couldn't you have just done that on our team? Why'd you have to make us drop you and then you be good on another team?
The problem with those kind of players, though, if that is the narrative that we want to pull at, is it's great until it isn't, right? Like until he gets bored and starts watching anime and screams, or they start losing and he starts losing faith, right? Like it just falls apart so quickly from him. But as you said, right now, it feels like a honeymoon period of the Guangzhou Charge of all these players have finally come together and they're like, holy shit, we're actually good.
This is I can't remember who said it. This is the best that Charge have looked since that summer showdown win in 2020. 100%. I've never seen the Charge be at this level. It's scary, the turnaround that their season has had from going at one point, I think hitting the summer showdown, they only had 1 win over the course of the entire regular season, never made a tournament and done nothing. And now I think they are a team that might even be better than the Fusion, might even be seriously competing with the top 2 of Shanghai and Seoul. I don't know how much opium I want to inject in there. I can't take it too far, but I mean,
my fear for this team is exactly what I said earlier with the Shanghai Dragons, is that we've only seen them really pop off on this one meta, in which, as you said, lines up very well for their hero pools. There is definitely metas in which could be more difficult for them. So I'm curious to see if they are able to dodge that in this playoffs. Because if they stay, for whatever reason, right, let's say this patch for the playoffs doesn't really change the meta and we stay Xayah, Lucio, Bap, Charge can make a run, and Charge are a scary 100%. Team to play against when you have Choice of One and Jimmy both playing at a very high level on heroes that they're comfortable on. And then the other players, we all know how talented they are. So it's I'm curious to see. I hope they make it out of play-ins. I really hope you are wrong and Spark do not fucking show up. I will be mad if Spark show up, because Spark will show up to the playoffs and play Rush.
I don't know. It's been a while since Guangzhou with a better Joe team. So like for ages, Spark with a better Joe team, and now Guangzhou's overtaken. It's impressive. And by the way, for all the people that are saying their like coaching staff sucked, they didn't change their coaching. I think one dude got dropped. They put on they added in Ty Dollar as I believe even an assistant coach, added in the Ultra Prime Academy guys, and boom, their roster's just popping off now. Oh, that's good.
It's a good story as well. Like if you think about the players they have at their disposal, it's a good story. Like obviously Eveltal, now Xerneas, he was on Chengdu Hunters. Jimmy as well, Redemption Arc. Aprita as well, didn't get to show what he got on the Chengdu Hunters. And also Piggy, you know, dropped by the Houston Outlaws earlier this year. And if they made the playoffs and beat the Houston Outlaws, holy shit.
This is the ultimate revenge
I'm just
tour
putting
team.
that
This
out
is
to
the
the world.
ultimate revenge tour team. Everybody's on a revenge tour.
Exactly.
Trying to take down some dudes in it. Like,
yeah. I'd look forward to that. I think Hangzhou Spark is really the only team that I'm slightly disappointed that they would qualify. Like even if Chengdu Hunters made the playoffs, I'd be like, well, you know, leave. He's the reigning MVP and he's at the playoffs. I know they've struggled so far, but like if they made it, I'll be like, it'll be nice to see leave on LAN, you know? Yeah. Something like that. But Hangzhou Spark, if they make it and they're gonna rook up with fucking Tiro playing support for them, I'm like, and Neko, I'm like, oh, this is just not what
12-man roster.
It's not what I wanted to see, you know? Maybe Shadowland, but
I can tell you right now why Chengdu won't make it, because we're in an off-tank meta and Daizu's not good enough. That's straight up the reason they won't make it. And Gaga can't carry them in this meta because his hero pool doesn't flex the off-tanks well enough. And that's been his weakness. And, you know, even with Jimu's improvements, even with Leave doing what he can do, the tank position is just too weak on the Hunters to go through. So I don't think they beat the Charge. I think the Charge just smack everybody and make it to playoffs and see Charge in LA.
Yeah. I did watch Dicey play some off-tank on the Diva and stuff like that. And I'm like, this looks like someone getting their driver's license. It's just like, it's just every action is a little bit slower than everyone else. You know, taking it easy, taking it slow, trying to play safe.
Not to hit the cones.
And then like, you know, rounding the corner, you got a fucking Porsche in Profit on Tracer, just like coming around like, zoom, what's up, dude? Hey, let's go. And Dicey's like, oh, no. That's unfair. That's unfair to me. It was good. It was good, you know, but I think it's valid what Admiral said.
He's had some moments, but overall is not good enough.
Yeah. But he's definitely has his moments. It's not the end of the world. I wouldn't say that. All right. So there we go for the Overwatch League. The matches this past week, and you know, we got some interesting matches coming up this week as well. For example, like the Toronto Spitfire and Toronto Defiant. I think they're competing. They're vying for that final and sixth playoff spot as well. London Spitfire, they're one game up on the Toronto Defiant. So London, they have a game against the San Francisco Shock and the New York Excelsior. This just on the top of my head, so I hope I'm right here. Right. But if they
play Florida Outlaws,
yeah. So if the London Spitfire, if they beat the New York Excelsior, which I mean, you never fucking know with that team.
Come on.
Honestly, NYXL could. Like, it seems like we got nothing left to lose. Let's just fuck around and find out. Like, kind of game for the NYXL,
There's
right?
no way, bro.
I don't know. I mean, if London, if London comes out playing like, you know, Saria, BAP, Lucio, or whatever, like they might get the job done. But I don't want to count out the New York Excelsior. Like, they have their moments sometimes. And, you know, I think LA Gladiators, I think they approached the match wrong against the one in NYXL. That's why I think it was so close. I think the Gladiators could have played that better. But, you know, I got to give some credit to the NYXL. We'll see what they do against the London Spitfire. So, yeah, we'll see what happens between those two teams. Can't really predict the future, can we? Yep.
What's I don't know if we're really talking about London yet. Are we talking about London? What's their pathway to get into top 6?
I think it's pretty much like beat New York, and then, I mean, Shock. Like, sure, if you beat the Shock and then NY, you're in, right? But even if you beat New York, it would be so hard, I think, for Toronto Defiant to like make it with map differential and all that. I think map differential is the first tiebreaker.
Part of me thinks it isn't any.
I'm pretty sure it's
match percentage. Yeah, it's like match percentage, which is really. I want to give my gripe about this because Sean Miller came out and talked about this of like match percentage will be the king thing, but it's match percentage of your regular season and your tournament performances. So therefore, it like. There was this like conversation that someone had about me. It's like APAC teams play less matches in their tournaments, so it's like. Are they getting hurt because they don't play as many matches? So if it is not map wins, then and it goes to match win percentage. On top of that, no one can see what their match win percentage is on the standings. So it's actually very hard for us to understand or predict what's going on.
Scott, I will say, percentage-wise, it should still be the same. Like, you should still get the same result in terms of who's above who. Like, I don't think match win percentage and record is going to produce a different result. At least it shouldn't. Like, theoretically, is there like a? I'm not a big maths guy. Maybe.
The way that I'm thinking, I could be wrong. As I said, like let's say Dallas Fuel, they won through one of the tournaments, winning all 4 matches, not dropping a single one. Seoul Dynasty does the same thing, and they win all 3 matches through the top side. Dallas still wins 1 more match through the tournament than Seoul Dynasty does, even though they were both 4. So therefore, Dallas Fuel would have a higher match win percentage when they are relating it to their regular season losses and stuff like that. So I don't know. As I said, I'm not 100% sure on these rules. It hasn't been clarified that well. But from what I'm interpreting from what has been said so far, that is how I will say.
I will say if it is that, then I agree. They need to show that on the standings.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Like if you can't visualize it, you can't quantify it in a way that's digestible for everyone, including us and the viewers and whatever. Yeah, it's not a very good system otherwise.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's actually like information out there about this, so I don't want to go out on a limb and be like, this is good, this is bad, whatever. Maybe that information is out there on a website in an article somewhere. Maybe I missed it or something like that. But it would be nice if it was more like apparent.
It's in the Overwatch League rules.
But yeah, PDF. Exactly. I'll download the rulebook PDF. Just like having a better idea of like what's on the stake like this final week, and just go for the stage qualifiers and stuff like that as well, right? It'd just be nice to have that information present and straightforward. So
they should somehow partner with Liquipedia. Because I think majority of people go to Liquipedia to find Overwatch results, including myself, player histories and everything, rather than like the website, because it's
Jack, we don't have
done this shit
sponsorships. It's the Overwatch League
ever, bro. I know.
Liquipedia is run by volunteers. Though. Oh, okay, you were joking. Never mind.
Honestly, I'm not joking.
I'm joking.
Like,
okay.
Scott's joking about the sponsorship. But like,
someone was joking.
Just sponsor them in some fucking way. Like, help them out or like something. Just not like they need help.
Are we sponsoring them or are they sponsoring us?
That we're sponsoring them. I don't fucking know.
Okay.
Just get a partnership should be formed, is what I'm saying. Like
alliances.
Because alliances need to be formed. The houses need to come together. We must marry the houses.
Okay, we're gonna marry Jack off to Liquipedia.
Yeah, you know what?
Oh my God.
I'm fine with that. That's okay with me. I use their website all the fucking time. But like, honestly though, just having a convenient source of fucking information is
we
nice.
Are absolute morons. We should all get fired, collectively get fired.
I mean, it's right there, but is it on Wikipedia? No, because that's where
it's on the official website, guys. Who would have thought? All information very much lined out in detail to the actual everything.
Well, maybe
that's crazy.
If we could have checked our own website. Instead, we went to some third-party horse shit, and it's not proper.
Wikipedia before we check our own
Wikipedia like that.
Life like that?
I'm joking. I was just about to say previous to that. Dude, the volunteers on Wikipedia, the people working on Wikipedia, I would like literally get on my knees for you guys. You are the absolute fucking goats.
Hey, yo.
Yeah, take a bow, take a knee. It's like a king. What the fuck, guys? Come on. No, for real though. Like the people updating the Wikipedia and everything, like they're absolute like legends. Really though. Wikipedia has been one of the best sources of information in Overwatch history for so many years now, and I'm eternally grateful for all the work all the volunteers have put in on that website. Thank you so very much. That being said, the tie-breaking information is on our website, guys.
The regional play-ins to match win percentage. So we're right. And Sean Miller confirmed on Twitter that match win percentage is relevant to your regular season and your playoffs. So as I said, but the thing that I said is true, because if Dallas Fuel wins 4 games and Seoul wins 3, and then you have to tie that into your thing, you've just won 1 more match in a win percentage than the other teams. Which, as I said, match win percentage, I understand why they do it this way, to make tournaments matter in the situation of qualifying for play-ins. It is just very unclear of like, I wouldn't even know where to begin to be able to find those numbers to be able to calculate it.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know.
I mean,
I don't know the answer for you.
Like, no answers here.
Yeah. Well, match win percentage. Wouldn't you just fucking add 2 numbers, make math? No.
Well, okay, no, yeah, okay, but then you gotta like I would have to go through to every single tournament, add up the number of wins that each team has and losses that they have in the tournaments, and then apply that to the regular season record, and then make the percentage.
I see
off of
what
that.
you mean. You're saying that the numbers, like in the actual standings, like they don't. Well, actually, if we take this up, actually. So yeah, this is just regular season matches, is what you're saying, in the win and loss column. And so you'd have to go back to tournament and count the matches.
Yeah.
And,
People are saying that
definitely
might be for the regional tournaments,
losses,
but then
yeah.
what's the international play-in? Like, what's the international seeding qualifiers? Like,
it's right here. It's right here.
yeah, you got the stats. If you scroll down, it would be because it wouldn't be
regional tournament, mid-season tournament, regional play-ins, international. Wait, what?
Head-to-head record in global tournaments, but we haven't had global tournaments.
This is international tiebreak. Is that it for playoffs, you think?
That might be for playoffs. I think the regional play-ins makes sense.
Sure.
That might be for. I think it is regional play-ins. I think that's the only one that makes sense, right?
I don't know. Regional tournament tiebreakers. I mean, that's the tournament, yeah. Mid-season international tournament. That's for the tournament specifically.
The mid-season one.
Play-ins,
Yeah.
regional play-ins. That's for play-ins specifically. International tiebreak. It's probably for like. Well, I don't know.
The actual playoffs.
Actual playoffs, maybe. Yeah.
I
So
don't know.
head-to-head record in global tour.
Because that wouldn't make sense. That first one doesn't even make sense if you're trying to apply that, because we've only had one global tournament, and that's not how Sean Miller said on Twitter that it's being determined.
I mean, if we literally spoke to, the people in charge, and we know the people in charge, and they're very much legit, and they know their shit, we would have sorted this out in 5 minutes. So, in any way, do I not want to like make it sound on the podcast that like things are very confusing and they're like overcomplicated? Just like we literally just have to like speak to someone for 5 minutes, and everything is clarified. They're very much on top of their shit, and they know what they're doing. So, yeah. We are just uninformed by our own will. I will blame us. I will willingly blame us. At least me. I blame myself. I should know this information.
Let's blame us as a collective. I mean, that's fair.
Yeah. All right. So there you go. Anyway, teams are playing for spots this upcoming regular season. Yeah, there you go. That's all you need to know. All right. Let's move on. Let's talk some awards, shall we? Round out a nice little episode with some awards. I think this conversation is going to go places. All right.
Here we go.
Let's start with the easy one, shall we? And I say that, and I know that AVRL has some takes here now. MVP. Who did we vote for MVP,
this is the
guys?
easy one? This is the easy one?
hardest one. To
Okay,
start.
no, it's not the
Start
hardest
with
one.
Rookie of the Year. Start with Rookie of the Year. That's
Start
the
with
easy
Rookie of the Year.
one.
Let's start with Rookie of the Year.
Okay, Rookie of the Year.
Guys,
All right, it's proper,
we
guys.
go down the line. Oh,
Alright,
okay.
It's proper.
I voted proper. Everyone vote proper for Rookie?
Did anyone not vote proper?
No,
I
I didn't.
voted
Did
proper.
you not vote proper?
I
If
voted
you did
Silver
not
3.
vote proper for Rookie of the Year,
You voted who?
need
And then
your
3.
votes taken away
Silver
from you.
3. Silver 3.
Silver 3. That's a good vote. That's a good vote. I could appreciate that. Milan run, yeah. True.
Well done, Ron.
Yeah. Who else could you vote? People were saying Ryan, but then
No,
I
yeah,
don't
right.
know,
is
then you
vote.
kind of.
No, no,
If some
so
major
who
media
else?
outlet really looked at the tournaments and was like, I value tournaments, I'm going to vote to Reiner. He won 2 stages. What a G.
What did she?
And then what? They look at
Was it anyone else? Was it
the
anyone else
Junker Queen
competing?
meta? And then
Like
what?
the only other people that I think had like crazy rookie seasons were actually main supports, but I don't think as a main support you are really like as a main support player it's hard to really determine their impact. I think Chio had a great season. I think Vindane had a great season.
Do you want
As like
to?
rookies.
Do
But
you want to hear my rant about supports and awards?
here we go.
Go
I
on
don't
then.
have to. I don't have to. It's a little bit incendiary. We don't have to go there.
Incendiary.
No, absolutely
I'm
go
kinda
there.
curious now.
Absolutely.
Do you wanna hold it for the Roll Star supports? We're doing Roll Stars as well, right? So do you wanna hold it for Roll Star support?
It's got nothing to do with Roll Stars though. I
Okay.
think like Roll Stars is completely different.
So you let it rip.
My take is just that look, I'm sorry for the people that are not gonna like this. This is maybe slightly offensive. I think it's outside of Jonak, which was like crazy in season 1, but even then if you think about it, he was a DPS. He's basically a DPS on
Yeah,
support.
like-
I just don't think a support could ever realistically win. Definitely
That's true,
MVP.
yeah.
Maybe even
so
Rookie of the Year.
sad.
Like even
That's
for a
true.
support to win
Yeah,
Rookie of the Year,
supports cannot
it'd have to
win
be like
the
it'd have to be
Alarm
no
Rookie
other-
of the Year award.
Well, they could no, Johnny. They could if there were no fucking DPSs in the rookie pool.
Yeah.
Then they could win it.
Yeah.
Alarm
But,
did win
like,
it. The award is named after Alarm.
Okay. People can. Okay, people can. It is much more unlikely and requires like a massive thing. Like the reason Alarm won it is because that was another main support.
Who else was a rookie that year?
Good luck.
Only flex supports can really win it because that's where you can see the most impact. Because when we're talking about these awards, it's generally off the people who are having the most impact in the server. And the reality is main supports and supports in general are very impactful, but not in a very visual way or like in a way that is going to be able to be quantifiable in the same way that you just see someone like Proper who just goes in on Tracer and just fucking big booty bombs down on every other team. Like it's not even close. He just fucking goes crazy. And you're like, how do you compare that to Vindame, who looks great at keeping his team alive and gets a cool boop every now and then and has cool impact? Like that's
Real
not
question.
comparable.
Who was the next best rookie after Alarm in season 3?
The next best rookie after Alarm in season 3.
Well, that's the year he won it, right? So,
Yeah.
Who was the next best after Alarm?
God.
I can't remember because season 3 to me is like an entire just black hole. I legitimately can't remember.
What about them Lip?
Wait, season 3. We're talking about 2021. Oh wait,
No, that's
when are we talking
2020.
about?
That's 2020.
Lip was 2020,
Oh, of
right?
course,
And
yeah.
Sideshow was on that shit early on Lip.
He was actually, yeah.
Was it the first one for Ans? Yeah, it was the first season for Ans,
I think
right?
I voted for Arns.
Hang on, why
I'm
the fuck
pretty
did
sure I
Arns
voted
not
for
win?
Arns that year.
Why did Arns not win? That's kind of crazy.
It was one of those things as well where like Alarm, like we knew that he was going to enter the league for like 2 years. Like he was on the Fusion Academy, right? For like since 2018, 2019. And it was, I think it was one of those things where like we almost like took it out in advance. Just like Alarm wins it.
Wait a
I
minute,
also think
Sparkle was in
Arns-
season 3. What the fuck?
Arn's hard peak. Well, Sparkle like was very good in the Genji meta, but like maybe not throughout the entirety of the season.
was
And
hella
Arn's
flat,
hard peaked at like the end of the season. Remember, like we vote halfway through the last stage usually, so that kind of stuff. So I think Alarm just had a good year. I think you definitely could have made arguments for other people. Yeah.
Let me change up my take a little bit then. Rookie there, whatever, but MVP, very hard for a sport to ever win that award because now you are going up against every single player, and you know something that Yiska's also put out there. It's just like flex DPS, not even hit scan. Hit scan even it's harder for hit scan than flex DPS because flex DPS, I think from my perspective, it might be the most difficult role to play in the entire league. It's mechanically the most challenging, has the highest hero pool requirements. All the heroes you're required to play in that pool have crazy high skill ceilings, and to be a top flex DPS, you have to be like a master at all of them. If we think about like who the best flex DPSs are, they're pretty much hyper flex status. I mean, we're talking about guys like Kefster and Leave who can play everything across the board at like in a ridiculously high level, and even go across to other roles. And even like guys like Prophet who then go into other roles like beyond DPS even. So
I'm gonna show this because I think it feeds into the conversation pretty well. This is the NFL MVP. This is MVPs by position in the NFL. And we'll just take a look. I don't know how long the history is, but we got 45 wins for quarterbacks. 45 times have quarterbacks been MVP. 18 times for the running back. And then it's 1 for linebacker, 1 for defensive lineman, and a kicker got MVP once. I don't know what fucking kicker got MVP.
Kicker won.
I don't know how the fuck that happened. I don't even know if this is accurate. But
He just kicked good, I guess. I don't know.
well, he kicked real well. I don't know. Vinatiero, I don't know. There was some Scandinavian kicker once, the Danish kicker or something. I don't know. He apparently was really fucking good. No wide receiver, and like you know, if you're into the NFL, you know the wide receivers have like a huge impact on the game as well. So this just tells the story that like quarterback is the most important role in the NFL. They get the most MVPs. And also
the other ones,
is running back the guy that scores the touchdowns?
They're the one who runs the ball in. Just run.
He runs from the back.
Yeah, running. They're like hit scan players, I suppose. They just do one thing. They just shoot. Like the running backs, they just run. Just run the ball.
And they either pop off or suck.
Either pop off or suck. Either run big or... this is Ballon d'Or. So this is soccer. Ballon d'Or winners 1956 to 2015 by position. 40 times forward, 14 times midfielder, 5 times defenders, and 1 goalkeeper.
This is actually... That is super accurate. Blue, DPS, forward, DPS, midfielder...
Tank.
Another DPS and then a kind of a tank.
Or maybe
defender
midfielder's
is
a
definitely a
flex spot.
fucking Sure, okay. And then goalkeeper, those are the fucking supports, baby. Those
The
are the
Illustrious
supports.
Award has not been without its criticism recent year. World Cup winning German defender Philipp Lahm, absolute legend by the way if you know soccer, criticized the Ballon d'Or, setting it merely a popularity contest for strikers and suggested it should be broken down into awards for each position.
True.
This
That's why we
dude
have
is
All-Stars.
molding,
This
bro.
guy is asking for role stars in soccer.
Roll stars, baby. Let's go.
So we already solved that problem because we got roll stars.
Yeah, we
my
did.
overall point of why I even brought this up is that like, because I see some rhetoric out there like, oh, I'm tired of DPS winning all of it. I'm like, but that's just how it is. I mean, like they play the most impactful role. Like that's just how it is. I mean, like the quarterbacks and the running backs, they're gonna get all the awards because they score all the points. They do the shit that people care about. And it's not like people are biased against supports. I mean, it's just how sports and games and competitions work, where like if you're in a supporting position, you're helping other people succeed and look fucking great. It's not like we don't, their job is still important. Everyone respects their job, but in terms of awards, people care about the guys that put up all the points. And in our game, the people that put up all the points are the DPS players. It's just kind of how it is.
All right. So we finished out the Rookie of the Year conversation here. Everyone obviously voted proper.
So it's all proper, yep.
Shout outs to like Vindime, Chio even. I'll throw that in there.
Yeah, sure.
And then you got like Zest as well, who had
Zest.
he's on the MVP ballot as well.
Armbin.
Rookie of the
Rookie
Year.
of the Year.
We'll get
Oh,
there.
sorry,
you
sorry.
moron.
No,
you
sorry.
absolutely moron.
Jack heard us saying names and he's like,
I thought MVP. I thought we were an MVP.
We're actually getting there. So let's talk about MVP. And I want to throw that out there as sort of like a follow-up to what we just talked about as well. I think most people here voted proper. We'll get to that and like the actual candidates. But one candidate for this award could arguably, although I don't think he is, be Hanbin from the Dallas Fuel. And so I want to sort of like follow up on the conversation we just had. What do we think the likelihood of a tank winning this award could be now that there's only one tank in the game rather than two? Do we put more like recognition onto the tank role because there's only one tank? And do you think it's more likely we'll see tank players win this award in the future? Not this year, but in the future.
I mean, mathematically, no, right? Because both roles now, well, there's one less tank, so technically, mathematically, you receive a less chance of getting an award because it is, you know. Am I wrong? Am I wrong with that?
I don't know where you're going with this.
No, I don't know.
I don't think that's how it
Mathematically,
works.
because there's one less tank, there's 4 other roles rather
I see. You're saying that
God, I thought I was fucking dumb. I'm like, wait, do I not know addition? Like simple addition?
You're
Okay.
right, but like I understand what you mean because there's
It
one
was a
less
very
tank.
hyperbolic, like this
Yeah,
is a dumb comment.
I
It was
got
a dumb comment. Let's move on. Dumb comment.
what Jaws is trying to say for people who didn't get it is that in Overwatch 1,
everybody.
tank players, because they're 2 out of 6, tank players occupied 33% of the team makeup, right? Whereas now it's 1 out of 5, and so only 20% of your team is tank. And so he's saying you're less part of the team or whatever. Yes.
Yeah, but yeah,
you have
I
more
think-
impact in a game.
I think Johnny's point of impact is the one he's talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah.
Oh,
You have
because
way
you
more
only have
impact.
one tank, being more impactful. And I think like Hanbin, if he had played in the mid-season tournament and had played incredibly well, I think there would be a lot more votes for him. The big thing for me and why I couldn't vote for him is that he didn't play for Dallas Fuel really in the mid-season madness, and they didn't perform that well at the one major international event. It's the same thing that I hold against the Seoul Dynasty and their players is the one international event that we had this entire year, they didn't perform at a high level. And I think that is really where everything was the most competitive. Everyone was playing at the best. And we didn't get to see those players play against the best things. It's like Prophet and Smurf have not played against Hanbin, have not played against Proper for the most part, right? Like they didn't play in those big head-to-head matches in the ones that matter. And that just like leaves, I don't know, a salty taste in my mouth in terms of like being able to appreciate and vote for them for MVP.
I was going to respond to Jack, but I think we moved on.
Oh, sorry.
There's a dumb point.
I was trying to brush away from Jack for a
It's a dumb point.
That's fair enough. That's
No.
fair enough. I've said enough offensive things.
I definitely would agree with you, Scott. Like, if Hanbin, I would have voted for Hanbin 100%. If he showed up and was like, okay, started deep dicking, then yeah, definitely. I think it's difficult because I think we had this discussion before where what quantifies like MVP. In fact, I think it was you, AVRL. I don't know. It was somebody.
Oh, hello.
But it's like most valuable player, like to the team, the one that carries the team the most, or is like more all-rounded, has just had consistently decent performances on a very strong team too? Or is he like, we can get into who we voted for, but like Proper's obviously up there in main contention because if you removed him from the team itself, they would be no way near as dominant as they've been. And I think that's what a lot of people kind of go back to with like the MVP rankings. If you removed X player from the team, how would the team perform? Would it be like a dramatic shift, or would it be like a small shift? Maybe they go down a couple.
I'd prefer to go in the other direction, as to just like not shit on the players on Chalk, because I genuinely think like they're great. So many of them.
No,
but
this is
not to you specifically, Jaws. This is just to everyone in the community, because I've heard people say this as well. I'd rather just phrase it as like, if you put Proper on any other team, that team would be like so extremely much better. Like they would just be so much better because of Proper's presence. And so I'd rather just phrase it like that.
I would also say that for MVP, in my definition, it's not just like your value to the team and like how much you're providing to a team or potentially another team hypothetically, but also like, are you the best player? Am I crazy in thinking that? Like I think the MVP in some cases also fulfills the criteria of like maybe the best player in the world. And I felt that way about Leave last year. I was like, I think this guy's the best player in the world. Yeah. And on top of that, his value to the team was high. I don't know if you guys, I highly recommend, not that I'm trying to promote too much of other things, but like Christopher had an interview with Yiska recently. It was really, really insightful about all these awards kind of stuff from the perspective of a coach, like what they value in a player, what they believe, makes a player valuable and good, and who they would vote for in terms of stuff like MVP and who's deserving of that. And the way Christopher was describing Proper and Leave, etc., is just like, yeah, the value they're bringing, how insanely good they are, how transcending they are as players.
Who did he say should win MVP? Just curious. Now that you're dropping it.
I'm pretty sure he agreed with Albert that it should be Proper for this year. But Christopher also said that last year he believed that Leave was definitely the front runner, because I know a lot of people, even in this chat right now, are like, "Oh, it shouldn't have been Leave." Bro,
it's
like,
ridiculous.
A lot of coaches, like Christopher just openly says like, "Yeah, it was very clearly Leave last year with like no shadow of a doubt." Anyway, I saw another question to pose. Is like, we're talking about Harm, but we're talking about tanks, but I don't get me wrong, I think Harman's amazing, but do we think he's even the best tank? Because you got Smurf for the conversation as well, and I think they bring a couple of different things to the table. Because in my opinion, Harman has higher peaks on certain heroes, but Smurf is like potentially like a better flex piece all around. Like if you were building a team, be honest, if you're the GM, do you first round draft Harman or Smurf? Like how do you build your team? That's a really important question to ask.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. Like I think Smurf struggles from consistency. I think that is his biggest weakness, of that he's just so consistently good and he is always putting up those things. But the reason that I always valued what Hanbin has done this year is I feel like Hanbin has been that focal point for them and the most important in the server, player in the server every time he is there. When he has carried Dallas Fuel to a lot of their success in the kickoff clash in the Summer Showdown. And that is why I always talk about Proper in that way of, people love to use this example of San Francisco Shock have never won anything, okay? But San Francisco Shocker also went 4th, 2nd, and 2nd. So they have always been there at every single tournament at the highest level. And when you watch those matches, almost every time they are in that match, Proper is the most valuable player in the server every single time. Even when like there have been situations where Shock has been blown out, that kind of stuff. Yeah, maybe some other players on the opposition team, when they're getting blown out, have had bigger games, as you would expect. Proper is always putting up these numbers, and he is always being a big player. And for me, a big way of what I determine who I want to be MVP is I take a step back and I said, if I was a GM and I could pick any one player to build my roster around right now, who would I start with? And for me, this season, the player that I would pick to start with would be Proper. I would put him in my lineup and then I would build around that, because he, in my opinion, has always been the most valuable player of almost every server he's ever been in this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here we go.
I also vote for Proper, to put it
same.
out there.
I will say during San Francisco Shock's losing streak there, I mean they lost 4 matches in a row at some point there, and Proper did look mortal on the Tracer, like not like his as any fed or like was bad or anything, but like he didn't enter like god mode in the server. Like he held his own, he did good, better than average on the Tracer, but he didn't look immortal the same way as has previously in the season. And I was like, well, what would it take for Kevster, for example, to win MVP? He'd won 2 stages. Even in the Jotes meta, Kevster looked fantastic. Like, I actually asked for this from our stats guy, Noah. I was like, hey, what are Kevster's like Genji stats during the Jotes meta? And like, despite Gladiator struggling, Kevster was like fucking among the top of the league on those Genji stats and stuff like that. Like, so it was never Kevster was the problem. We know that. It was, the Junkie Queen adaptation. When Space came in, they looked a lot better. But like, Kevster consistency at a high level has been unbelievable so far this season. And he's a 2-time stage champion. So I'm like, what would it take for Kevster to win MVP? But I never got there. I think Proper is the MVP. And Kevster probably like 2nd place for me. Smurf deserves to be there as well. But
did all 3 of you go Proper? Just confirming, all 3 of you went Proper?
Yep.
I haven't revealed mine yet. We got to get into that.
I know where you went probably.
I had a toss up, man. I had a toss up. I went silver 3, like I said. I had a toss up. Because I was like, well, what do I value? Who would I pick first round draft if I was GM? What do I value? And there's when you look at the player pool for Overwatch League this year, it's like on one hand, I look at it from the perspective of like the level of tanks. You have very few super elite tanks. And then it kind of drops off really quickly. Like after Smurf Harmon, who's really next in that conversation, right? It gets a little bit difficult for me, in my opinion.
The role stars I had big trouble with, actually.
Whereas you look at the flex DPS, is like if you miss Proper in the first round draft, I don't think I'm upset if I get Kevster next. You know what I'm saying? Like the 2nd, 3rd, 4th choices for that position are actually still pretty stacked up. So when I really take all of that into account, I'm like, who do I really go for Proper as MVP? So when it came down to it, the person who I put down as my MVP, it's still Proper actually. So, and the reason,
I love it.
So, and the reason is, I think what pushed it over the edge for me is, he just transcends everything that there is in this league. When I've looked at other opinions outside of talent, and I looked at what Albert said, I looked at what Christopher said. Other coaches that have played against him, other players that have played against him, it's just like he's playing at a level, doing things that, in my honest opinions, just has not been done before. Kevster is a great player, but he doesn't command the server. He doesn't dominate the server at the level of consistency, at the peak that Proper does almost every single time. You have to like count on a single hand how many bad games Proper has. I mean, the level of like nitpicking that fans have to go to, like, oh, look, you see that? Proper missed 1 pulse spot. Like, that's the level of nitpicking they have to get to try and take down Proper, because he's so damn consistently good that you have to get into the real nitty gritties. Whereas like other players, I mean, it's way easier to find poor performances. But it's not even about that. It's just like maybe I shouldn't have included this into the MVP considerations, because really when you talk about MVP, you talk about awards, you should only think about what he did this year. But my extra sort of bias towards Proper is I know what else he's actually capable of, because there's more stuff that he's done that hasn't even been shown in the Overwatch League that I know he can do. And that's the scariest part. Is like he's already been ridiculous, but I know he's got more. And the reason why is because in his contenders career, and by the way, before people come and say it's contenders, just remember all the top players that are coming through, all these rookies, they played in contenders career, guys like Zest, Proper, Kilo, Merit, etc. Finn, they all played against each other, Piggy, etc. These guys all exist. We know they're top players, so I ain't fucking around when I say that. Like in contenders, is a really top level stuff. Especially last year at O2 Blast scrimming Shanghai. That O2 Blast last year was a phenomenal team. If you look at that roster, still is now. When you see Proper metas where he is still the star player, no matter what the meta is. If it's an Echo meta, a Water meta, a Ash meta, we all know how good Merit is this year. Merit has been fucking phenomenal. He's actually been so good. And I'll be the first one to say that I probably didn't give Merit a fair shout at the start of the year. And I was completely wrong about Merit. He's the top player this year. But even back in contenders, when Merit was on Runaway and Proper was on O2 Blast, obviously, and we had like a hard Ash hit scan meta, Proper was the best hit scan player on the team, and he diffed Merit. He's a better Ashe player, a better hit scan player than Merit. He was a better Widowmaker than other Widowmakers in Canada's career. He was a better Echo than other Echo players. He's just moving between whatever the most important DPS hero is. He was always that guy, no matter what. Tracer, he was always that guy. Boom. He's just whatever the most important DPS hero is. He's the best player on that role. It's ridiculous, and he moves between hit scan and flex DPS and projectile like it's nothing. And you see that this year as well. He just they bring Striker back, and Proper just goes on Sojin, and now he's just the best Sojin on the team. It's like unbelievable. What he does seriously I think he's the level of Hyperflex where he's got leaves, hero pool, and more, and then he's even like better in terms of the vertical of how good he is on those heroes. That's what transcends it. I think he's even better than Leave was last year, and that's saying a lot because I was the guy that backed Leave really hard last year, and I'm saying Proper's even better than that.
Yeah, I think one of my biggest, like, I completely agree with everything Avril said. That's why I voted for Proper as well. But I think one of the biggest weird things for me in this community is that it's so divisive. Like, people just like can't understand that people can vote for other things. Like, this was probably the closest MVP race we've ever had. I think Proper, by the way the winds are shifting, looks to be a front runner. But I think you could make an argument for a lot of different players. Like, I think you could have voted for Smurf. I think you could have voted for Hanbin. You could definitely have voted for Kevster if you wanted to. I think Profit's on there as well, like on the high up of the votes. And I think that's good. And I don't think there is anything wrong with voting for those players or thinking that those players are more deserving. There is no right or wrong answer. It is just how you believe and how you perceive the most valuable player is. And I think for a lot of us, it is Proper, and we have been pushing that narrative for a while, so maybe there's bias there. But I genuinely agree with Avril that for me, Proper was it. For other people, it won't be.
He backs up the narrative, though. It's not even just like some false narrative.
Not to some people, though, right? Like, you got to be understanding of, like, some people are always going to have their own personal biases. People are always going to have their own things. Like, yes, the numbers prove, I agree with you, Avril. The numbers prove that Proper has been the best player on multiple different heroes. But some people just don't look at that in the same lens.
I would actually say that if you don't pick Proper for MVP this year, I think you're overthinking it. Like, I think people have a tendency, and obviously, like, I've been in the scene for so long now that it happens to me too, but you really have to catch yourself not to overthink things and not try to be smarter, like, than, what the answer actually is. Sometimes the answer is just like Proper, and I think that is the case this year. And like, if you want to make an argument for other people, sure, throw them into the loop, like, mention their name, talk about why you actually like really appreciate their season so far. But I think if you seriously like pick one of those other people besides Proper, either you have a bias against the San Francisco Shock, you have a bias against Proper, you're tired of the narrative on broadcast, or some other thing, you're trying to be smarter than everyone else. I really think that the answer is as simple as, like, Proper is the best player in the league. The Shock wouldn't have reached the heights they did without him. I think he's by definition like the most valuable player in the league.
I don't think he's that heads and shoulders number one. Like, do you guys agree with Johnny? Like, that you think Proper is heads and shoulders number one?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I do. I think the level of impact he's had on the game. Let me the past.
Sorry, let me put it like this way. Do I think that Proper is by far and away the best player, like, in the world? Like, I'd actually say no. Like, I think there are people who are like in his tier of like skill, individual skill, and how good they are at the game. But because it's also most valuable player, I think that even if you want to throw in like Shu into the conversation, if you want to throw in Kevster into that conversation, the fact that the Gladiators team is just better than the San Francisco Shock's team, that is a benefit to Proper because he's the most valuable to his team. Whereas, the Gladiators have all these other players. Like, even Seoul Dynasty, like, you have, Smurf, Profit, Fitz have been amazing. And so I think by definition of valuable, like, Proper is up there. So
yeah, but like you're saying that as if the Shock don't have a stacked as fuck roster. Like, they do. They have Violet Finn backline. Like, Kaluj, yes, he's a rookie who's had, I would say, some mixed success this season, has been pretty good. And then he had Kilo, he has like Sam. Like, these are all good players. Like, you can't discredit like these players that are around him. Like, Proper.
Glad's is better, yeah. You'd have to say Glad's roster overall better?
I would say Glad's is more well-rounded. I think they have more versatility to them, so that they would be good in every meta. And it's kind of crazy that they did go 2-4 in a meta.
Which, by the way, and another thing that was actually, to go back to the Custa interview, because again, it's super insightful, was he actually said that, like, at the end of the Summer Showdown, if the Glads qualified into Toronto for the Summer Showdown, they would have won the tournament. That's what Christopher believes. From like how good they eventually got on screen. It just took them a while to figure it out. But, like they took a while to get space on towards the Junker Queen, and all that kind of stuff, and they took a while to figure things out. But they were actually like apparently they were unbelievably good at the end of Summer Showdown.
That's a good
they
team.
Just ran
they
out of
always
time.
will be, right? Like they have such a good roster. Like they will never be bad for a long period of time. Like,
all right,
they're just too good.
We should move on here because we're recording long, and we spent more than fair amount talking about the MVP conversation here. So we could talk forever about this, but let's move on. Perhaps another interesting one. I know we have some differing of opinions on this one. Let's go ahead and talk about the coach of the year. So I think for most people, they will actually go with Christopher here from the London Spitfire because of his massive impact. Of course, maybe I should just let you guys announce what you guys picked. But I picked Christopher anyway. And I know there are a few other candidates in there that you could mention. But Joss, let's start with you. Who did you vote for Coach of the Year?
Thank you, Johnny, for passing the talking pillow. I think it's a pretty easy one from myself. I voted Christopher too. Just the amount he's done with a team that has very little bag is quite exceptional.
Okay, my time with you didn't throw me the talking pillow, but I'm going to talk out of sequence. Yep, thank you. Before I start this, I'm going to talk about how I think Coach of the Year is a very stupid award, and I think that we do not provide we do not provide any insight into coaches. We don't talk to coaches. We don't hear from coaches. And one of the main reasons that most people are going to vote for Christopher is because Christopher has been one of the most outspoken coaches in doing interviews and stuff like that. With that said, I still voted for Christopher as well for the exact same reason that Jack said. And because I have heard insight from him and way he's talked about his roster, the way he's talked about this team and building it with the limited resources that he has, and then the results that has followed, I gave it to Christopher.
Throw the pillow.
Oh shit! Avery up.
Straight or straight?
I think it's good. It's good, Johnny.
I actually can't even troll this one because you already know what I picked because I dropped it in the caster chat. But first of all, I agree. So I think the whole Coach of the Year award, I still think it should be more like a coaching staff of the year award, but I know that's not as sexy because like it's less like, I don't know, maybe people don't vibe with that as much. I remember I brought up that ages ago, but it didn't catch on. I think most teams view it as a coaching staff of the year award anyway, but I actually went because I'm obviously super biased. I went towards Toby. And I think that when it really came down to it, what kind of made the difference for me is I look at Toby in a very similar sense to looking at Christopher in terms of what they've done with the relevant teams. Now, obviously, if we're viewing this from a budget perspective, of like who did more with what budget, yeah, Christopher wins that hands down. But when I look at it from a perspective of like how did they turn around this team? What did they do for the team? And how is the team now compared to where it was? And I also think about, here's the extra factor for me that really swinged it was Toby, is like what is their reputation and what is people's perceptions of them and what is the belief behind this person and their credentials coming in as well. Christopher is someone that was already fairly well regarded coming through from Fusion. I think most people looked at Christopher on London as like, man, this is a really great move. He's going to be fantastic. They're going to finally build the London European team of their dreams. And I look at Seoul, and I think when Toby was announced as head coach, people were like, why is this guy head coach? I mean, he's got no experience. He's never coached before. Like, why is this guy the head coach? He's gonna fail. He's gonna ruin this team. And Seoul's reputation had been down in the dumps for a very long time. This is a team that like had a lot of potential, has always had some potential. In season one, they should have been one of the best teams. They've always just kind of fallen behind short of the mark. And they've never won anything. Just remember this as well. They've never won anything. This isn't fair to Christopher because London actually did win something, but it's got nothing to do with him. Right? It's got nothing to do with his version of London. But anyway, the Seoul franchise from start to finish has just been tragic up until this year. And Toby comes in, they get some new players, they added Smurf. I don't know who's responsible for adding Smurf into the roster. I heard Prophet kind of helped convince Smurf to join as well. I don't know if Toby had a say in that, but as far as looking at coaching staff goes, yeah, I'll just add it in there. And Seoul completely turned around from a very tragic franchise that never won anything, had a bad reputation, to instantly winning the kickoff clash and being a top team throughout the year. Their record this year, regular season, has been phenomenal. They had one hiccup. They had one hiccup in mid-season madness. I don't hold that against them too hard because I think every team's had a hiccup. Glad's had a hiccup in Summer Showdown. Shock's had a hiccup now in Countdown Cup. Like every team's had a hiccup somewhere. I don't count that against the Seoul dynasty that hard, right? I think every top team's had that. So just seeing it for me, like Seoul Dynasty and Toby is like the more high tier version of Christopher in London, where Christopher kind of turned London from a bottom team to a very respectable mid to upper mid team, and Toby turned Seoul from like a mid team to like a legitimately top team that could go for a championship. I think that's crazy. I think that's worth a lot.
I think it's worth mentioning in this a similar case as well is the LA Gladiators coaching staff, and we talked a lot about them at the start of the year. And you can say what you want about like the talent on the roster and how they have like probably like one of the best rosters in the league. It was still very obvious, like when you watch their substitutions, when you watch their compositions, their playstyle, they're an incredibly well-structured team, like a very well-coached team, the way they approach these games and how structured they are in their play and their subs and everything that goes into it. So I think the LA Gladiators coaching staff needs to be mentioned there as well, with a team that like took a franchise that like historically haven't won anything, and for years on end we harped on the LA Gladiators like they can't win, like they're not winners. And Face and his coaching staff now with Hunter, like they took LA Gladiators from that edge, from being a great team already to being like a stage winner in many regards. I know they win on stage last year as well, but like they won 2 consecutively this year as well. I think they deserve massive praise for that. So definitely close in that regard. I will say the previous winners of this award, it was Rush for the Dallas Fuel, and then it was Moon, of course, of the Shanghai Dragons as well. So historically, the Coach of the Year award has gone to like the best franchise.
And Krusty, right?
Krusty's never got it. He's never won.
No, the award didn't exist. The award didn't exist 2018, 2019.
Wow.
So
Okay.
Krusty's never won it, which is travesty.
Also, Unter gave us the Twitch emote Unter Gay Sex, which is very funny.
But
Very funny.
The funniest
Joss.
thing that I laugh at with the Gladiators is people are like, I think Unter deserves it. He's the best head coach of the league. And then you're like, well, he's not even the head coach of the fucking team. And so like,
he is the most personable coach.
He is the
though.
most personal, but he is not. Face is the head coach of the Gladiators, who is also another smart guy, but he's just less in the forefront, and we haven't really heard from him. But he's a very smart guy. I also want to throw a hat in the ring of just like praise of, if we're going to do it for London, I think Gumbo has done a good job with the Florida Mayhem.
Absolutely.
A team that is a
Straight
hodgepodge of players from all over the world that a lot of players weren't looking at. A lot of teams weren't looking at, and a lot of people weren't expecting. We had them going pretty close to 20th going into this season, and they are very solidly middle of the pack. So big props to Gumbo as well.
He's been overlooked because like I feel like people need to look at Florida a little bit more, because all the first and foremost, Christopher deserves a shitload of praise. If I didn't vote for Toby, I would have gone for Christopher. But Gumba's taken Florida to very similar heights, and I think people kind of forget about Florida because I think in the preseason, a lot of us and a lot of other personalities would have said like, "Oh no, the fans are wrong about Florida. Florida's not a bottom team; they're more like a mid team." And so the narrative around Florida changed. When you look at the budget from if you look at the budget report and stuff like that, Florida and London pretty similar. Most people thought Florida was going to be a bottom team. Custa, you said it. They took in a lot of players that it was completely overlooked.
Here's a stat for you. Florida Mayhem have ended every tournament this year higher than London Spitfire.
Exactly. And here's a better stat for you, Johnny. They also knocked out the London Spitfire multiple times. Every time? Or multiple times? I think almost every time they knocked out. They specifically are the team that knocked out the London Spitfire. So I don't know what it is, but London Spitfire have a better regular season record, but the Mayhem have consistently outperformed them in tournaments. That's got to be worth something.
I think for me, the reason I weight Christopher's weight is that of how poorly the London Spitfire team did last year, and he did it like he sort of
I agree.
fixed that team rather than rebuilt that team, and that's why I hold Christopher at a higher standard for that.
I think Gumba is one of the best team builders in the history of the league.
Yeah, absolutely. He's Moneyball, dude. He's got fucking 19 spreadsheets. He's fucking crunching the numbers. Like
he's the guy. I want to give one more honorable mention.
Sorry, can I, before you move on as well, I just want to say that as well. We interviewed Gunbo, of course, and like I'm just like still amazed to this day. But like we asked him like, how did he decide to pick up these players in the preseason or before the season? And he literally was just like, we just picked up the best players possible. Those who were like the best at the game, and then we'll figure out communication later, we'll figure out all that stuff later. And the fact that you got all these different players who like some of which couldn't even like communicate with each other, just picked them up into an international roster and was like, hey, this is our structure, these are the compositions, this is how we're gonna play the game, and like implement all that with communication. That is just like unbelievable to me. That is a fantastic coaching job.
Also, this is something that people don't realize as well, but Florida looked awful going into Summer Showdown. And then they came fucking fourth. Yeah. Right? People forget about like the turnaround into the I don't know what it is. They get a tournament buff. unbelievable tournament buff. The other coach I wanted to kind of bring up, because no one really talks about him, is Smash from the Gladiators. Because people either think about like, well,
I have
Unter,
no idea what this guy does. People talk about Smash. They like raise him up. We did interview with him. I'm gonna be completely honest. I have no fucking idea what Smash does.
Yeah.
Well,
let me know, because I want to know.
He's a heavy. Well, I mean, I'm kind of friends with some of the guys. He's a heavy strategy guy. He's like he's from. If you really talk to Unter and you ask him like, you know, who's fucking doing the. Well, I think this is maybe an unfair question. You don't want to put the coach to the competition, but like he'll tell you Smash is a fucking legit elite tier coach that really added a lot to this team. From a strategy point of view, he's just like he's been described to me as like a super smart coach, just knows the game at a ridiculously high level. And
I mean, this is the problem with the award. We don't know this shit.
We don't know who is providing the value to the team, right? Like most people probably didn't even know who Smash existed, right? Like that is the problem with this award. Through and true, people give it to teams based off of results, and they just give the assumption that like the coach
good equal win.
Especially they just point towards the head coach and say, this guy is doing it. When there is usually 3 coaches on every team, where there is an unknown. Like when I was on the Valiant in 2018, I worked directly with Goomba. He wasn't the head coach, but he offered so much to that success of that 2018 Valiant team. And he was a big proponent to that. And you can see that in his future success, but people probably didn't even know who Goomba was at that time as well.
I mean, like, you hate Moon. We get it. No, I'm kidding. I'm joking, dude. But I agree. Gumba's. I got a history with Gumba. Other guy's incredible. People forget where Smash even comes from. He was the head coach of O2 Blast from last year. That had Proper and Keeler and Finn, all those guys, and Merit. Smash. He led O2 Blast to like their best year ever in contenders. So I mean, this guy was super fucking goated. I don't know. But I agree. It's so hard to discern exactly what coaches do unless we can get more content surrounding coaches or more insight.
And that is being worked on. Like I can actually say that like I've been encouraged by other parties like behind the scenes in the Overwatch League that like, hey, we want to spend some more time talking about the coaches. Like it's not like we're like oblivious to this idea of like speaking to coaches and learning more about the coaches. So like this is actively like an effort we're trying to do behind the scenes of the Overwatch League, is appreciating coaches more, learning more about what they do. But similarly, like they're stuck in this awful position, right, where like coaches understandably work some of the most busiest jobs in the world. Like that's part of the reason why I didn't want to coach, instead of being talented. It's like the amount of hours you have to work when you're a coach, and like actual like intelligent work and like very specific work, and like it needs to be detailed and it needs to be good day in and day out. It's an exhausting job. Like it's crazy how difficult it is to be a great coach. And so understandably, they don't always like want to spend time like doing public work and like, doing interviews. And like Christopher, as you said, Custa, is one of the coaches who's actually done that the most this year. And so we have a harder time actually learning more about the coaches. But I want to see coaches step forward, like whether it's, Deepay from the Vancouver Titans, who at some points like done some content himself. Spilo, of course, formerly of London Spitfire. He's done some incredible work. He was on Custa stream, for example, learned a lot of insightful stuff like there. But I want to see more of this work from the coaches themselves and like see them try to, add their opinion to the public spaces sometimes, because we really value it. It's not that we ignore the coaches. It's not that we don't appreciate the coaches when they do come out and say very important things. We actively want to see more content like this, and we appreciate their perspective. Look, if we could, like, I'd love to see more like coach opinion, like on the Watchpoint show and stuff like that, because they are like some of the smartest people around the entire league, right? So I want to make it known that like I think everyone in this call like want to see, like, learn more about the coaches, the various coaches around the league and what they do and how they operate. It's not that we're not trying to or we ignore it. It's like we'd love to.
The reality of it is that most of the fans don't want to hear from the coaches. Is the problem? Is most of them want to hear their favorite player talk about something and that kind of stuff. I went into this year and I said I want to do more thing. A big part of that as well is that a lot of coaches don't want to do interviews. We've asked for coaches in the past in the Watchpoint truck of like, hey, can we talk to this coach? And it's been denied of like the team doesn't want to do it or the coach doesn't want to do it. They want to talk to this player. So, it's not always in our hands. And I think it'd be a good thing if we can start promoting, as Johnny said.
Yeah.
One other additional difficulty on top of what you just said, Scott, is the fact that coaches also don't want to divulge information. They're very guarded about certain. It's rare to have somebody like Gumba come forward that interview you guys did with Gunber was incredible because he just kind of like said stuff. And I was surprised because most coaches would never divulge that kind of information. It's risky because it could reveal things about your team, and potentially reveal weaknesses or something that could be exposed by another team. So you don't want to say things, because it's risky. And also, I don't know, maybe from a PR perspective, I don't know. There's a lot of negatives that like there's very little to gain from coaches being open, revealing outside of like, I don't know, boosting yourself, boosting your stocks for coach of the year, and maybe having the public like you more. But there's a lot to lose from having a coach say things because you're just giving away info. And if you're not giving away info, then you're being really closed about it and you're giving very shallow answers, which no one wants that, because then what's the point of having the coach on if you're just giving shallow answers, right? So it's a tough situation for them to be in.
Yeah. It's an added headache, and I understand why more coaches don't like come out and actually like participate in the public discourse, because it's an added headache. Like, why bother with it? They're not interested in, you know, the public perception or stuff like that. And then we roll around to this year every time, and like we're talking about the coach of the year, and then like we don't know everything. I do like the suggestion that fucking hell, this Christopher interview is getting mad value right now. It's just living rent free.
Great interviews.
Yeah, he does some great interviews.
If you want to get insight into some of those things, he does a good job with that.
I watched that interview, and he was essentially like, they should just shout out by the way to GG Recon and Jessica who actually make the interview. So we're really grateful for that. Thank you for that content. Check it out. But he was essentially like, there's an argument to be made that maybe they should just give out the award to like the whole coaching staff instead of individual coaches themselves. And like, because he said essentially like, if you ask any coach in the league, they would be like, I need my assistant coaches. Like, my assistant coaches does so much for me, whether it's FaZe with Smash and on the LA Gladiators, whether it's, on the London Spitfire with Commander X, for example. Like, these people are so helpful. So it's an entire staff. Like, maybe we should move towards an entire staff, and then maybe like the head coach name is like bolded or something like that. It would just make it way easier to figure out how this award should be awarded and how you should credit the coaches, whether they're assistant or head coaches or whatever, on the actual team. Like, it's a team effort, the coaching staff. So I don't know. It's a suggestion to put out there. Holy shit, we're running long. We need to speed boost this shit, guys. We gotta push out the content. So here we go. But that's the awards.
We talked about Roll Stars.
Roll Stars.
Oh god.
All right. So let's actually start with supports. We're gonna start with supports here. We're gonna start with supports. How do we want to do this? All right.
Should we just list our things or nah?
Well, okay. So let me just say this first of all, like the criteria. All right, the criteria. So I believe that Cernias from the Counter Charge, he's not eligible because I don't think he's played enough. No. He's not played enough. There's a time limit on this thing, a minimum amount of time he must have participated. So, for example, some players will be out. But the most obvious, like, star players are, obviously in contention and available to be elected. So, I don't know how to do this shit. Do we just want to start with you, Joss? Pick one or two support players that like were your at least top two for this Roll Star support category, and then we can move on to Custa and see.
Just list them all, or nah? I mean, I can just name two if you really want.
No, go. You can list them all, and then we can sort of like build up to it as well. You get to start, Joss.
List them all.
Start with the four. Yeah, start with all four.
Start with all four. We got Creative. We got Shu. We got Twilight. And we got Chorong. There you go.
Creative, Shu, Twilight, Chorong.
Chorong, yes.
So from that, no Shanghai Dragon supports and no Fielder from the Dallas Fuel.
No.
Instead, you got Creative.
I'm going to be honest with you. Roll Stars, holy shit.
Support is very difficult. There's like 8 players who deserve it.
Yes. How the fuck am I supposed to pick?
Let's say this: when we say our actual players, we have to qualify like how we approach Roll Stars and like what our thinking is going into this as well. Because I think we all have different thinking of like what actually qualifies to a Roll Star. When we get to tank, I'm gonna have some spicy picks because I probably have different criteria to Roll Stars. So let me know, why did you pick these players? Like, what do you value and how did they fit the criteria?
Like, impact within the team. It's like a miniature. Man, I don't want to say it, but it's like a miniature like MVP almost, in like their impact within the team as a whole, how well they've done individually. Support is very difficult, as we noted before. Sometimes support's pretty invisible to the naked eye or to the regular viewer's eye. It's pretty tough to do so. So yeah, I just kind of took it at that, really. There's nothing much more crazy in-depth shit that I went into it. I was like, okay, just a valuable support player. If I wanted to pick a support sub, who would I ideally go for? And then I went from there. So yeah, I mean, the
Do you,
backline in Toronto Defiant is fucking stellar. I think Shu and Creative are also very, very good. But yeah, it's like Scott said, it has been pretty tough to choose supports this year because a lot of backlines have been very good and like pivotal to team success. But yeah, that's who I went with.
So I want to, before we move on there, I want to spend some time on creative. Just like, why did you pick creative with Overwatch? I don't know how many of us picked creative, but it's obviously someone who stood out to you. So
probably, I've got a good feeling none of you pick creative, right? I mean, honestly, I think just how well he did in Seoul Dynasty and like it being a trade where it was like good for both parties. I think that's kind of what spurred it for me. Is like he did very well on Seoul Dynasty and then has been on Outlaws. But how long has he been on Outlaws now? I don't know, a month and a half or something. And he also did exceptionally well on there. So it's like, it's not really been like, oh, he was kind of bad here, now he's better. He was like, he is solid on the Seoul Dynasty. He's good. And now he's moved to a different team. He's also still looking pretty fucking good. So that's how I qualified that. He would probably, out of the 4 that I have, he'd probably be on the like the bottom of the 4. But yeah, I just think consistency between 2 different teams, I think has been very good.
all right. Before we move on to Custa, I'm gonna save Custa for last for this one because he's an actual like legitimate support. And
that's not gonna go well.
Yeah,
For legitimate support? What am I? What the fuck?
You're
Well,
illegitimate.
I mean,
Illegitimate support.
illegitimate. Yeah. But I want to save Custa for last because I'm looking forward to his picks. AVRL, who did you select for your 4 support role stars?
Here we go. I actually, first of all, I agree with Jack that like this is almost like if you could pick 4 MVPs for a role, what would it be? I kind of look at it that way as well, a little bit. But without further ado, my picks are Vindame, Iziaki, Shu, Iris. Now,
Iris. That's an interesting one. I like it.
But for similar reasons that Jack picked, I'm glad you say creative because like I think Iris for me, but for like the exact same reasons, but in the opposite direction because this dude was already like pretty phenomenal on Houston. I thought Iris was amazing on Houston to start with. From day one, he impressed me from day one. From day one when they played that Dallas game and he just sleeps sparkle and just like demolishes people on the Nana, to him getting traded to the Seoul Dynasty in what I still think is potentially one of, if not the most beneficial trade, mutually beneficial trade in Overwatch League history. Some might say like Dante Smurf. Well, that's still like contenders in there. Like maybe you could say that, but I think it's undeniable. It's uncanny how Eris and Creative, them being traded, somehow upgraded both teams. I don't know if you could agree with that, but it feels like to me they upgraded both teams. And Eris just fits on Seoul. Doesn't.
They're both good players.
He just instantly drops in there and is incredible on that team. And it's like they never lost Creative, and maybe they even gained something. I just think he's been one of the top players this entire year, no doubt. Shu is that. I don't need to say too much about him. I think he's the best support we have this year. And he's just the most phenomenal flex support that we have. And just support in general. Reason why I went Iziaki is I think I'm slightly biased towards flex supports. Obviously, we had this discussion earlier about like how do you see value, how do you define value, like what does that mean, and what does that mean from a support position? I think we all agree that like flex support is a lot easier and a lot clearer in terms of what that value is. When I look across Shanghai's success this year, and look, they started slow, but they eventually got there. You have to remember, they still did reasonably well in Kickoff Clash. People will write off the Kickoff Clash. We have to remember, like, they were like 1 profit pulse bomb away from actually like beating Seoul and maybe going to the finals and winning against Philly instead. I just think like Iziaki's been part of every bit of Shanghai's success. Iziaki's been there and he's been front and center. And for a support line where, to be honest, my take, maybe a hot take, I think Lee Jae-gon fell off a little bit this year. I felt like he wasn't as good this year as previous years. And he's actually been role star twice in a row, and justifiably so in the last 2 years. But this year, I didn't feel it. I felt like he wasn't quite on his money. But one player that was Iziaki for me. But that even included the Summer Showdown meta where he swapped a Brig. Holy fuck, his Brig was insane. Like, wow, like you think Lee Jae-gon's meant to be the Brig player on this team, and Iziaki, you could have turned off the nameplates. I would have thought that was Lee Jae-gon from last year. Iziaki was so insane. I think that kind of pushed over to me just how good he was even on the main supports. And then Vindame, I think he's one of the top rookies that we have. And it is rare to have a main support player be this good and be like this standout. When we talk about the fact that main supports can be very invisible, it's hard to see their value. It's hard to see them pop off. It's hard to see what they bring to the team. With Vendame, it's very easy to see. Actually, it's not just. And I don't want to turn into like a forehead thing. Like, oh yeah, well you mean he pops on the kill feed or something. It's not even just about that. But like you can see from his POV. I remember one of the best plays I saw from any player this year, support, DPS or otherwise, was Vendame had he forced a Ajax on Lee Jae-gon. Lee Jae-gon was going for a beat. Vendame just fucking swoops in and forces an Ajax or some shit. It was unbelievable. What he was doing on Lucio, a hero that he didn't even play before. His entire history, if you look at his career history, he's only played on O2 Blast for a single year. He only played Brig. He got benched for Chio in a lot of cases because they were swapping between the hero pools. I think Chio played more like Mercy, Lucio, and Vendame came in for the Brig, right? And comes into Seoul, learns Lucio professionally. Obviously, he's probably played in ranked, but he learns it professionally, and he's just like insane on it. He's like outperforming Lee Jae-gon, who's one of the best Lucios of all time. And then on top of that, his Brig is insane. And then what really pushed me as well is like then he comes out on a Zenyatta on a double flex, and I was like, what the fuck? This guy can actually just do everything. Vendame has just been so unbelievable for me in this year. Honorable mention goes to Chio, who has very similar qualities, but I just couldn't fit him in. I think he'd be my easy fifth though.
Okay, so let's recap that. Shu, Isayaki, Vendame, and
Iris.
All right, got it. I'm gonna write everything. I'm writing these down so we can compare later. And Jaws, you said Shu, Creative,
Twilight Chorong.
Oh, the double Toronto Defiant backline. That's
Adamantium, bro.
That's dynamite right there. All right, I'll mention mine next. So for my criteria, I don't put value like how much value you bring to your team. I don't value that. Like this is for me, this is a completely individual reward. How good are you on the support role overall? Like peak performance. Like if I'm building a championship roster, who are my like first 4 picks? I don't put role into perspective. Like I'm not doing like 2 main supports, 2 flex supports. I'm not doing none of that. I give credit, and I'm gonna give credit to about DPS and tanks as well here. I give credit to flexibility. If you have peak performance, if you're like the best Brig in the world, and maybe like you have the best Senyan in the world, if those are the 2 only heroes you're capable of playing, and your Ana is trash, if your BAP is trash, stuff like that, I'm probably not rating you as highly. I value versatility and like all-star, just like, are you great at your job? That's pretty much what I value. So for my picks, I picked Shu, of course, from the LA Gladiators. He's not a tier of his own. He's just an absolute beast. Best flex support player. It's not even close. I picked Fielder from the Dallas Fuel, and I picked Isayaki from the Shanghai Dragons. They sort of like feel sort of like a similar role in that regard. Like I think they're all-star calibers, like flex support players, but also they flexed over to Brig in the Summer Showdown and had really good Brig performances. I was surprised by Isayaki's Brig in the Summer Showdown and how good he was at that role for the Shanghai Dragons, and obviously helped them win that state title as well. And then for my 4th and final one, I got Violet from the San Francisco Shock. And the main reason why is I'm not saying that he's like one of the better Senyatas, one of the better Ana, stuff like that. There's probably better people suited for that role, but the fact that he can play Lucio at like a really high level, Brig at an incredible level, Senyata, Ana, when people rock up with that badge in the broadcast that a lot of people pay attention to, but that Roll Star badge, the viewers know they're going to get an elite performance on whatever support hero they're playing at that time. And I think Violet is like the epitome of that category himself. Like whatever support hero possibly in the realm of Overwatch, he's going to come out and deliver a great performance. Maybe not Mercy. I don't know about that. But I had to select Violet because of that, because I value his versatility on that role so much, and being able to play both main support and flex support at the level he does. I think that's an incredible achievement. So I went with Fielder, Isayaki, Shu, and Violet.
All right, does that mean it's my turn?
It's your turn, Custa. Saving the best for last.
I wish you didn't prop me up, because I got to tell you guys how I like to do my roll stars, is because I actually like to do it off of just like, it's like a gut check almost of like when I'm doing this, because you can go down the rabbit hole trying to think about why this should be played. There were like 8 or 9 players I was willing to put for roll star. When I first went over it, I'm just like, who would I be willing to put? Then I nailed it down, and I actually have one that's like very unconventional, but I'll explain it. So I had both Dallas Fuel backline. I had Chio and Fielder. I really like both of those players. Chio was exceptional to me in this most recent season. I think he's been doing a great job. He's even shown some flexibility recently to play some flex. I think Fielder is massively underrated. I think some people, like, you said Shu is the best by a long shot. I think Fielder does not get enough credit for how much he does for that team and their coordination. I have Shu on the list as well because, as you said, he is very good. And my last one was really like, I like all of your options. Like, I thought about Violet. I thought about Izayaki. I thought about Twilight and Chorong. I think Lastro hasn't been talked by us at all. And I think Lastro is another good shout for the same reasons that you said with the Lucio, Johnny. But I actually went with Finn. And I'm just going to say it's because I really like watching Finn play the game. I think he's just chaotic.
He likes to stalk.
He just likes to fucking go in. I think he likes to go deep. I think he's massively talented. I think he will have better seasons in the future. I think he didn't live up to his own potential this season. But I don't know. I just, when I was doing this, as I said, it was a gut check. And I was like, I just really like Finn. But I think you guys, I think if I was to go back, I'd probably give it to Vindam. One person who hasn't brought up, I think Vindam was also incredible for the same reasons of Geo as well.
All right, there we go. Some solid picks all around. I like that. We all had a little bit of flair. We all differed in some way or another.
There should be flair and personal bias in that way.
It shows how close support was, right?
Yeah.
The fact that we all had different ones.
Shu was the only one who we all four picked.
I don't think you could argue, like, Shu definitely fucking deserves that shit. Like, there's no fucking way.
Do you think Shu is overrated in our community? Let me throw this question out.
Whoa! I think you just got so much cred and rep for your Finn take right there and Chio. And now you're asking this?
Here's where I want to add context to it. Is like, I feel like we have this, as I said, we all had him as think he deserves to be in the role star list, but I think there are some people who genuinely believe he should be the MVP of the league. And I feel like at some point, his performances are being potentially amplified to a ridiculous point by like community circle jerking away, right? Like, he is a great player. He is probably the best flex support in the league, but do I think he is head and shoulders better than every other flex support? I don't know if I agree with that.
Actually, Scott, I take responsibility for that. I called Shu the best support in the league in the mid-season finals, and then the community kind of just took that and ran with it. So I'll take responsibility. My bad.
Yeah.
I'm sure you were the only one, Avril.
He's the best in the league, and I think in flex. But so as I said, some people have this like, he is MVP, he is the GOAT of all flex supports, and I think there are people that are closer to it.
Yeah,
you know what? The level of Shu overrating that I will put my foot down on is the people that would rather have Shu as MVP than Proper. Now that is fucking overrating him by a country mile.
Would you put Shu over Kevster? If you like remove Proper from the equation?
I wouldn't even put Shu over Kevster. And the reason why is, I hate to say this, but listen, Kevster is like the rock, the core of the team. You can't bench him. They bench Shu, they can't bench Kevster. Impossible, right? And I don't care about people saying, well, it's not fair, it's not as meta. It's like, I don't give a fuck. It's not about fairness. It's about who's best. It's about who's most important, who's most valuable. Right? Fairness has no contribution to that discussion at all for me.
Yeah, so, I mean.
I derailed you on that one, Johnny.
I don't think any star player of Shu's caliber has had to compete for his role with the likes of Skewed and Funny Astro in a double main support meta either. That's just like are we gonna bench either Funny Astro or Skewed at Lucio and Brig over Shu coming in and rooking one of those roles? Like, it's just tough. That's a hard position to be in. That's part of being part of like a an all-star roster like the LA Gladiators, but it does suck that Shu wasn't present for that stage. Yeah. Okay. All right, there we go. Let's round this out.
We got for Gladiators fans on the way out.
All right, moving on. Let's do damage next. Roll stars for damage and save the tanks for last. All right.
Can I go first on this one because I went last time?
Sure. Go for it.
All right, so for me, with the way I do DPS is I go raw carry potential of you and your role as DPS. So I have a pretty simple list on that one. Pelican, Kevster, Proper, Prophet. Just the four players who are all very hyperflex in a lot of ways, just very strong, and the players who just take over games. Like they are, it's another one of like, I think Rollstar, I take away just like raw numbers and that kind of stuff of like, who do I love to watch in this role? Like, who are my favorite DPS players to watch? Who does the most?
if some like a novice viewer came into the Overwatch League and you were like, hey, I want to watch, or they were like, hey, I want to watch a Genji player or like a damage player, who should I watch? And you're like, watch these 4 players. Because
Role Star, I don't think is as much mini MVP as you guys said. I'm more of a like they're role stars. They're stars. They're not the like potentially like the best. Like watch these fucking guys, and those are the 4 that I think you should watch.
I think that's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
I think obviously there's some, like obviously there are some like I'll go with like I think Lip is always a good shout in any season.
Hey, don't step on our picks. Come on now. Don't step on our picks. We got honorable mentions over here already.
Okay. You go.
Okay. You know, if you wanted to give an honorable mention to like Valentine or something, I would have been down. But stepping on like top tier players, come on now.
Okay, my honorable mention then is to Aspire because I love watching him play as well.
Can you repeat who your?
That's a good honorable mention.
Can you repeat who your 4 was again? I think I missed it.
Pelican, Kevster, a proper Prophet.
Okay.
Yeah, that's reasonable.
Yeah, there we go.
I got some crackhead takes in mind.
Let's save Jaws for last. Let's save Jaws for last with the crackhead takes.
You guys want to know the crazy thing? I look over a chat and someone says Pelican didn't really take over games though. I don't know what games you're watching, but Pelican won them games single-handedly.
That's a Houston hater right there. That's a Houston hater.
I mean, dude, he deadlifted on Genji in a non-Nanoblade meta. Like, I don't know what you want me to say. Like, he just regularly like dice people over. Let's go with you, AVRL. Who did you pick for damage, Roll Star?
Yeah, I also went with Proper. I think we all went with Proper. Like Jack would have to be fucking crazy and go for Proper. I went for Proper.
No, I did.
Okay, so we all went for Proper.
Yeah.
Proper, Lip, Prophet, Kevster is my 4. So the only difference is I had Lip instead of Pelican,
which is fair.
And you had him as your honorable mention. I just put him in there. And you know what? I'll pass the same back. I'll have Pelican as my honorable mention. So we keep it level.
There we go.
And I'm just like, who do I think are potentially the 4 best DPS players? And also like a little bit of value to the team, because obviously, you know, we talked about what our criteria was. And if Proper's MVP, he's got to be Roll Star, no question about that. Kev was probably the second best flex DPS this year after Proper. I gotta have him in there. Prophet has been unreal throughout the entire year. The way he flexes across everything. I mean, I joked about having Prophet as a support Role Star, but I mean, he even just played Brig for an entire stage. It was so impressive. That maybe it's not fair to add that into like discussion about a DPS because I'm not a DPS hero, but still, I just think it adds a lot to Prophet's repertoire, and he's just been. I think he deserved it. Did you know, guys? By the way, do you know that Prophet has never been a Role Star? He has never been a Role Star in his entire career. Did you know that?
What?
I think he's been robbed. I think he's one of the most robbed players of all time.
It's the same thing with Smurf, right? Of like, he's so consistently good that I feel like we just take it for granted.
So you know what? Like, fuck it. This year he deserves it. This year he was legitimately one of the top players. And if Prophet doesn't get Role Star again, then he is officially the most robbed player of all time. I promise you. And then my final one, Lip, is just like, I think Lip was a top hit scan. You know, when I look across all hit scan players, the other top players are like Shy, Happy. I think they were all brilliant. They were all fantastic. Edison took too long to warm up for me. Kilo kind of started to fall off. I mean, the fact
Merit's
that they had to get Merit's actually not a bad shout, but I think I prefer Lip.
Yeah.
You know, I think Merit's been fantastic, but Lip is class. I mean, this guy is still right at the tippy top, and you see what he's doing on that surgery. You see what he's doing on his scan picks. It's phenomenal. So yeah.
AVRL, because you're our resident APAC, what do you think about the Zest hype train that is coming out right now? Do you agree with that? Like, would Zest be close to your list?
He is one of the top players. I just think the DPS list is very competitive because we're like, for fuck's sake, I had to leave Pelican off. It doesn't feel good that I had to leave Pelican off. So there's a big queue for the DPS players. Like, as far as we say, like, support's hard, DPS is like easy, but it's also hard another way because I think I know who I think my top 4 are, but beyond that, there's like another 5 amazing DPS players right afterwards.
Yeah.
So it's just tough, and Zest is one of them.
I will give a shout out to Funkmaster6 in the YouTube chat who said that AKM deserves a shout out. There you go.
Yo,
just out of nowhere dropping the AKM.
Like
there you go.
Like
A killing machine. Did you guys know that? No, I'm kidding. That's a joke, I think. That was a meme. I don't know. That was like a meme in 2018 or something. I don't even think it's true. I don't think so. Maybe it is. I was on the same team. I should know. Anyway, Yeah, I think Merit is a good shout. I wanted to give that a mention as well. Like, I think Merit is a good shout, but like we're talking about like the 4 best damage players in the world, and like it's so hard to like replace someone with Merit. But I totally agree that like Merit is definitely underappreciated in that regard. So like it's someone that we should give more praise, Merit, because he's had an outstanding season. Been one of the best hitscan players in the league. All right, my picks. Not as fun anymore because it's the exact same as AVRL. I get Proper, Lip, Kevster, and Profit. So there you go as well. All I'll say is, you know, I think AVRL said most of the things for me. All I'll say is, I am probably the biggest supporter of Rollstar ever. I think this shit is so much fun. Yeah, I love doing this. I just like picture these people like in the same room. Obviously, they're never gonna be in the same room, but like the absolute best players in Overwatch history, just like playing against each other, like talking with each other. I just love that vibe. I am the biggest probably proponent of the All-Star game. Give me that shit back. I want to see these guys go head to head, even if it's on Torb, even if they don't care. I don't know, incentivize them somehow, because we need to see all these players in the same lobby at the same time. It needs to happen. I love the All-Star game.
We just can't do Tiny Overwatch again.
Can't they all go in LA?
So dumb.
Proper, Lip, Profit, Kevster are all going to be in LA.
Yeah, look, I love the All-Star game. Please make it happen to like play us for some bullshit. I don't know how to incentivize these players. There has to be a way. Tell them to get a unique skin in the game. They'll be all over that shit.
No, you don't want them to try too hard, because that shit you want that perfect balance of you want them to try but not care that much, right? You got to find that perfect balance.
Actually, every single one of my role stars, without spoiling it, every single one of my role stars is in the playoffs.
Yeah, well, that's usually how it goes.
If you're
I'm just saying, like, they will all be in the same place, so that we can actually make it happen.
You want the absolute crackhead take
here we
right
go.
now?
The crackhead take from Jaws.
I'm going crazy. Right. I'm off the fucking goop with at least half of them. Well, with half of them. With half of them. This is some wild shit I'm about to put on the fucking timeline, bro.
He's got Becky on there.
Listen to this. Okay, we got your classics, all right? We got Proper. We got the other P player, the Prophet. Hold the phone.
Did you not put Kevster on your fucking list?
Watch this.
Oh, God.
Guy.
It hurts, but I'm like, I can't.
Then, watch this. Isu.
Take his PC away. Take it away from him. Take it away from him. He's not an adult.
Invalidated.
He's not an adult.
Invalidated. No, invalidated.
Take his face away from him. Lock him up. Lock him up.
We gotta email someone. We gotta get his permission.
He's a fun guy to watch, okay? I like Hisu. I think he's a good guy. I think he's the funnest fuck player to watch. I put the Heese down. The Heese be least in the Roll Stars, bro. There's no fucking way. I'm probably the only one that voted Hisu in Roll Stars damage.
Jack, do you
anybody else voted Hisu?
Do you have Hopper and Muse as your tanks Roll Stars as well? Or?
Let me check.
let me.
Have you got the whole trying to define on there? Or?
We'll get to that in a minute.
Twilight Chorong and Hisu on his Roll Stars.
Well, you did have Twilight and Chorong, didn't you?
Yes.
Why didn't you put Finale on there, bro? Come on.
I had to make it fair, bro. I had to look. Some of the other players deserved it too.
Oh my god.
Hisu over Kevster, bro. All right.
Honorable mention, I will say Kevster.
Honorable mention, Kevster.
Honorable mention, Kevster.
I love it. I love it, bro. That was truly entertaining. All right. Shy, though. Shy.
I honestly,
I wish he was on a better team.
That was some of the best individual performances we've ever seen in the mid-season madness. That was absolutely ridiculous. Like, you got to give credit to that.
He literally couldn't have carried harder if he fucking tried.
The Hangzhou Spark were like, the Shock are giving all their resources to Proper, and they were like, watch this.
Hold my nano boost.
Literally every ability in the game to Shy. And it worked. I mean, it was amazing to watch. All right, Tank.
Thanks.
Here we go.
Who
wants to go first? I think we'll let Jaws go first, because
you want me to go first? Okay, I'll go first. Don't mind if I do. Okay. Spoiler alert. There's no Toronto to find on my tank list.
I think this was the hardest role. Personally.
No.
I disagree. I think support was harder, personally, out of all of the players. So we'll start with, I guess, the APAC tanks or tank Smurf I got for that one. And I got Hawk, Hanbin, and Reiner overall.
Okay.
I think that's quite a lukewarm.
So lukewarm.
I think it's quite lukewarm.
It's
picks,
reasonable.
See. All right. No.
I don't think you could
I
argue.
I have
wanna-
more to say about this later, but maybe
I would like to go after Jaws.
Okay.
Because my list is Smurf, Hawk, Hanbin, and Reiner as well. I think Reiner is the one that Reiner and Hawk are the. I think everyone's going to put Hanbin and Smurf. Like, I think that is probably going to be the staple of everyone's list. And then I think it really comes down to what you prioritize. I think Reiner winning 2 stages and being a dominant, like his ability to dive and his coordination with it was very, very strong. And Hawk, I do love his flexibility and his ability to step into the role and play lots of different heroes. I think there's probably some APAC tanks who would like to have a word. But
all right.
honestly, that's just what I like.
All right. Here we go.
Oh, okay,
right.
wait. How much crack are you on, Johnny? AVRL? Like, what are your picks? How
I
are
want
they?
crack I want the crackers take at the end.
Yeah.
How? I don't think. I've
Oh
got that
god,
much
they're
crack.
both bad.
I've only got.
They're
No,
both
I've only
crazy.
No, mine's not that bad. I did do
Okay.
one person dirty, but it's not that
All
bad.
right. AVRL first, and then Johnny last. Then go on.
Which tank do you think I did dirty here?
I think
Well-
you fucked Hanbin over.
No.
Oh, come
no.
on.
I
He
thought
fucked Hawk
you
over. He's
Well,
like, get this out the range
Hawk
shit
is
out of
ve-
my building.
Yeah, Johnny's
Reiner.
right. I fucked Hawk. Sorry, dude.
Really?
I fucked Mike Hawk.
Okay.
My bad.
What
No,
are your picks?
he is really good. He is really good, but like you'll see this. Like I said, the obvious 3: Smurf, Hanbin, Reiner. Gotta lock him in. Yeah, okay, Mr. Skoda kind of sucked on the Junk Queen. Whatever. I think he's still been phenomenal the rest of the year and everything else he played. I think it'd be a bit of a crime to not have him in there. He might have been exited from the Rookie of the Year race, but I think he still deserves to be a Role Star. Smurf, Hanbin, you can't. That's just obvious, right? Can't believe you thought I dogged Hanbin.
Well,
Scott
I
after
I thought you were going dirty, and like Hawk wouldn't have been that bad of a snub, and I know you're not going to snub Smurf, so I thought Hanbin was next on the list.
So the reason I snubbed Hawk, and believe me, Hawk has been fantastic this year, but the reason I snubbed him is because
Dude,
there was
pick
one
Bellis
player.
Leah, bro.
There's one player that I've just been so unbelievably impressed by. That like maybe this is one of those I like the stock moments, but like he's just such a great player. And it's Dante.
Oh yeah,
It's fucking Dante.
Yeah.
I have Dante as my role star. So
Yeah,
it's
fair,
Smurf, Hanbin,
actually.
Reiner, Dante, and the reason is because this dude he role swapped onto tank. So he's coming in at a major disadvantage compared to everyone else. And nobody please bring up the diva from like 2013 or some shit. I don't care.
It looks
doesn't
good
count.
against Shock, man.
I'm talking about like him mostly playing DPS for his career because I know someone has been like, oh, he played D for once. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking like he mostly played DPS. He role swapped the tank, and somehow he can contest and play against all the top tanks in the league. I think the moment that sold it for me was when Houston beat Dallas. I'm like, holy fuck, Dante just beat Hanbin. What? That
was
moment
crazy.
sold it for me. When that moment happened, I put Dante. I locked Dante in. 100%.
I voted before that moment. Sad.
I voted as late as possible. I won't say why. You guys actually know why. But I voted as late as possible, and so I got to see everything. And so I was like, bro, when I saw Dante beat Hanbin and Houston beat Dallas, I locked that motherfucker in. I was like, Dante, you a role star now.
Alright.
I want to give some love because I don't think Johnny's going to give love this way, and if he does, I'm sorry, but I'm going to give it to our Australian brethren in Punk.
Damn
I
it!
think-
Fuck! No, I'm kidding. I didn't. I didn't vote Punk. Okay.
I think Punk has done a great job of once
Yeah.
again going against the grain and being able to perform a high level. He definitely doesn't deserve to be in the top 4 list, but is an honorable mention.
Yeah. It was one of those candidates where I actually sat down and like I looked at the stats lab for like an hour and I was like, should Punk be in the conversation right here? And I gave him a fair amount of credits and I reviewed it and then I was like, sorry Punk, I can't do it. But he is actually, like, if you go over the stats, he's actually statistically impressive on like most of the heroes he plays. And it's not only like a diva or like he's actually well-rounded good. In many ways, he is like a really good Jote, but he's not top 4 yet. So maybe if he was on a better team. Anyway, for my picks, Smurf, Hanbin, Reiner, Hawk.
Oh,
So it's the same
God, dude, what the fuck?
I'm the only one that went
What
different.
the hell?
I'm
I'm the only one?
so delighted that we all agreed, because I was shitting bricks about this. I was so anxious.
Really?
I spent the better part. If I missed watching some of the games this past weekend, it was because I was on my laptop in the watchpoint truck, just like furiously looking at the stats tab and like giving cases, and like I went over this, and I'm like, I didn't want to rob Void, because I think that Void like is such a fucking great tank. Like I love Void, but he's also on the team with Fate, and I'm like, it's so hard to like. Whereas some of these other candidates, like Reiner, for example, like great Doomfist, like Winston, Reinhardt, played fucking Roadhog. It's Diva and Zarya hasn't really been up to par. You know, he had the Junker Queen incident in Summer Showdown. Obviously, Junker Queen just wasn't it. But like the fact that he can play Doomfist such a high level, I will say, if you're questioning Reiner's like Diva and Zarya after these past couple of weeks in the Countdown Cup, I will say what Space said in the interview he did with the Watchpoint Truck, was like, Space was actually like the Zarya and the Diva player for the LA Gladiators, but then he fell sick, and so Reiner had to fill in that role on short notice and play those heroes. So with that in mind, I'm willing to like give him a bit of like forgiveness and credit in that regard. I don't think that like Reiner looked great against New York, for example, playing those heroes, but I don't think that was fully his fault as well. So, but I honestly, I felt like I robbed Void in this case, because I think Void is just so spectacular. I just didn't trust his other heroes, stuff like that.
Well, that's the thing. I think Void peaked on Junker Queen this year. I don't feel bad about not adding Void in there, because I feel like he mostly got benched by Fate, and he peaked on Junker Queen, and it's like he was very important for the Summer Showdown, but he probably will. Void's about to be very important for the playoffs, but we can't include that into the All-Star discussion because this is a regular season. So I don't think you should feel bad about leaving Void out personally. That's coming from me.
Yeah, I agree. I think Void, we all know how good Void is, but I don't think he's had the season for it. I also think, I don't know about you guys, but I heavily favored flexibility as a big part of my
100%
thing in Roll Stars for this year.
Yeah.
So people who did have that flexibility were shot up to list. And I think that's why there's not a lot of APAC tanks in there, because almost like all the APAC teams have two tanks, where they have their dive tank and they have their, other tank. So. Yeah.
Oh, you don't like Piggy playing two heroes?
Yeah.
Yeah. I also say another person I was looking at was Kalush as well, from the San Francisco Shock, because if you talk about flexibility, I think he's done a great job in that regard, like filling in even on the Winston and playing some of these Winston compositions with the Shock. I think he's done a great job. Junker Queen, I mean, they made the finals of the Summer Showdown, and he was definitely up there as well. So yeah, I want to give some credit to Kalush as well. He was someone I seriously considered. In many ways, I also felt like I almost like considered like dropping Hawk here. I know we all Everett didn't pick Hawk, but I considered dropping Hawk, because I'm like, say what you want about Hawk being versatile and playing so many different heroes. I looked this up. Hawk has more than 1 hour playtime on 6 different tank heroes this season, and he had like 30 minutes on Reinhardt as well. So despite having great run roster, and that's just like a philosophical approach the Atlanta Reign made. Hawk just was the single tank player, and if he had to play a hero, he did it. But despite its versatility, like, you got to be able to compete like peak as well. And I think it's without a doubt Hawk's best heroes is like Doomfist, Diva, and then you got to question like the Winston, the Zarya. How do these heroes like stack up? And it gets very difficult in the top 4. So I left Hawk in because I think he's the GOAT after all, and we value flexibility. But I was considering like, he probably might have been like the first player of my top 4 if I had to replace someone. But he's in there nonetheless. So there you go. All right, there you go. Roll Stars. I'll also say about this category, the top 2, like Smurf and Hanbin, they're in a separate tier. Like, they're just fantastic. Yeah. So if you wanted to make an all-star team, you'd have to start, I think, with Hanbin, Smurf, Shu, and Proper, and then you fill in on a lot of damage and support. I know we only have 1 tank now in the lineups, but I'll pick Hanbin and Smurf because they're tied. So here we go. That's a cool 4 out of 6 players to build a team around. Anyway, bring back the All-Stars game. I'm gonna start one of those survey petitions, whatever thing. Go sign it. Bring back the All-Star game for the Overwatch League. We'll enjoy it. All right. We're 3 hours into the podcast, guys, and I'm gonna be real with you guys. I had
Friends Player of the Week.
No, we actually had 2 more. Can I introduce a new segment for 5 minutes? Do you guys have 5 minutes? How pissed off will you guys be if we go 5 minutes more?
I'm
I'm
okay.
kind of hungry, but I'm all right. Yeah, what's up?
Yeah, no, I'm a little hungry too, but yeah, that's fine.
Okay, we got a new topic here, and I actually thought that it'd be ironic, but because we were just talking about Void, but I'm going to introduce a segment, and we'll see where this goes. Maybe we'll bring it back in a more extended fashion rather than 5 minutes. All right. It's the Void is Washed Worst Take of the Week award.
Is this from 2020?
This is from 2020 when I said probably one of the worst takes in Overwatch esports history, and I got absolutely I got shamed across the streets. It was like the Game of Thrones episode. I had to walk around the competitive Overwatch Reddit and just naked, and they just shamed me. Look, all right, so here's the thing. A lot of people, they sometimes say that we have bad takes on the broadcast or whatever. I've actually, by the help of Serious Dogstar, who's one of my subscribers, one of my community members, much credit to him, he helped me out here. They actually, I don't know their pronouns. They helped me pick out these takes. So we're going to give a review, and we're going to crown one of the worst takes that we can possibly find here out of these. So I picked out the takes already. I just need you guys to tell me which of these is worst, okay? And then we can move on from the show, all right? So let's start out here. These are about a week old, I think. I don't think this is from the past weekend. I think they're 1 week before, but it doesn't matter. They're funny as well. First up, Toronto versus Vancouver. Oh my god, this is small. They need to replace Choron with an actual good support player.
Holy shit, that's a bad take. Dude's flair, by the way, is I only like old Philly. I mean, bruh.
That's a pretty spicy take right there from Dazzling Bear 3447.
I like you got the replies in there as well.
Yeah, Drone's got a whole studio apartment in your mind.
all right, moving on. I wonder how I swap pages here from this. Let's move on. We got, that didn't work. Fuck, let's just do it like this. All right.
Control W.
Yaki single-handedly showed he's the best Western region tracer with this match. Better than Kevster, better than Proper. He's simply better.
Oh god.
Let's go.
Oh, dude, that's a vast throwaway account right there.
It is.
Just hanging out on
Iberius 29.
That was after the Glads versus NYXL 5-map banger. There we go. Thank you, Tiberius, for that one. Moving on. This is versus Fusion versus Charge. Fusion deserved this for making absolutely zero roster moves. Symmetrical BS response. The only player remaining on Philly from last year is Carpe. And if you mean mid-season roster moves, then a lot of teams in the league didn't do it, not just Philly.
What Philly are they talking about?
Are they years too late?
I can't wait for EQO. Play EQO.
I think on a factual level, this one is the most incorrect.
It's impressive.
Yeah.
It's impressive. Zero roster moves. Brings in Zest, MN3. Fixa, Aim God. Did this work? Someone said this worked. Oh, this works actually. Here we go. Next take. San Francisco Shock, still trash. Straight to the losers bracket with this team. This was after they, of course, had a struggling 4-match loser streak or whatever. Kratos comes in at the end. He had one good game on his best hero, Relax Bud. This was about Striker as well. Nice pickup. All right. This seems about lukewarm. Not a lot of people laughing at this one. Lukewarm. Here we go.
Yeah.
Next one. If May was not a hero, Backbone would be in the conversation for the worst DPS in the league.
Oh. Wow.
What?
I feel like Backbone's done a great job of showing flex. His Genji was better. I feel like this is good. No, this person's a super viewer. He saw Super talk about Backbone in week 1 and his Genji, and he's like, I've turned off my I have decided I will not watch Backbone no more.
Someone says censor the usernames. We're not censoring shit. These motherfuckers need to live up to their takes, all right?
Shit about us
you talk about shit about us all the time. Here we go.
Accountability.
Yeah, accountability. This is your own medicine. All right, here we go. Next one. Krusty is a dog shit coach. Laughing my fucking ass off. Match was honestly a stomp besides the last map and JT. JT could have easily gone to the finals with some better rolls, and Push went from the most brutal gore dominance we've seen so far into a really close ending actually. All the game talk aside, something bothers me a lot, and that's the godforsaken finale slander. Finale is so good. Proper this, proper that. I swear, the observers spent more time watching Proper and Striker while outside of team fights than they did on finale. Obviously, Shock's DPS are more popular, and it's alright to see their POVs in team team fights, but we saw almost no finale. On Paraíso, he dicked Finn or Violet 3 times in a row, and we didn't see any of it. In Busan Downtown, finale finishes Proper with a really cool blink into a turn melee. The casters only mentioned that the shock lost Proper. Proper then does literally the exact same thing on Paraíso first, and then spent a whole 10 seconds praising it. He's been a menace on Tracer since day one, where he completely shut out the Outlaws Doom comp. That being said, Hisu just had his way with your shitty team.
Hey, it's just me and my alt account. Where'd you find this post, bro? Wait, what the fuck?
Toronto
My
Super
favorite
Bowl.
thing is listening to people's Twitch takes and like YouTube chat takes and like listening to them. And then you're like, they are a fan of this team. And you can work it out so quickly. I didn't have to look at the Toronto Defiant flair to know that this guy would be unbiasedly going towards the Toronto Defiant. Like,
I mean, extremely biased.
Yeah.
Super biased, you mean?
I love it. Great stuff. Thank you. This is content. Here we go. Dragons versus Fusion. Pretty sure Dragons would lose to Eternal right now.
Come on.
Come on.
Holy shit.
Come on.
That's bad.
That's just
Nah, dude.
no.
That deserves more than negative.
I think this is currently my front runner now.
All right. I don't know. I'm like, is this sarcasm? Like,
Yeah,
are they
I
trying to
don't know,
joke?
yeah.
Is this comedy? This has to be comedy, surely.
Hard to tell.
I think that's it. Yeah, there you go. So those are the worst takes of the week. Nominate the candidates. Which one do we go
Either
for?
the last one or the first one, bro. They need to replace Trong with an actual good support player as a meme. There's no way.
Yeah.
There's
I think the
no
Yaki
way.
one was a little worse than this one. I think the Yaki one was a little bit.
Yeah, I'm with the Yaki one as well.
Yaki?
Like saying that Yaki is better than
yeah,
Kevsa
right.
and Proper is just like Yaki's a great tracer, but
Kevsa and Proper? Yeah, nah. Yeah, I'm down with this. Yeah, Tiberius 29.
no, actually, Yaki performs at the same level as Kevsa and Proper. Every now and then, like once in a blue moon, he performs at the same level. So I don't think it's as heinous.
That's what I'm saying. Is the Shanghai Eternal one is the most heinous.
That's just
Because it's like
wrong,
literally
yeah.
off.
It's one of those three. First, last, or this Yaki one.
Are we just gonna let this
Just all of them. They're all terrible.
finale simp and crusty slander just pass us by? Are we
This one
just
was
gonna
funny
let...
though. This one's hilarious.
I guess that's true.
This seems like a copy pasta, dude. I don't know.
Yeah,
That
but
being
it was
said, Hisu just
I
had
don't know.
his way with your shitty team. That's a copy pasta. Hisu just had his
He
way.
also said on Paradiso he dicked Finn or Violet
Yeah.
like 3
Come
times
on
in a
now.
row.
This is a great storytelling. This is like not about the take, but like it's well formatted. It's hilarious to read.
It is.
This is the sanest Toronto fan.
Yeah.
Sanest.
The most
Yeah,
sane
yeah.
Toronto fan.
This is what should
That's
be
all
said.
about
Like,
Toronto fans.
this is a meme, right? And that's what Reddit and Twitter should be about. Like, even if you're saying dumb shit, at
yeah.
least it was in a fun meme format. Well, like, some of these people are just off the goop with some of the things that they're saying.
Dude, the fucking worst take of the week award should be the fucking thread that I hate you, Johnny. That should be in there too.
So
I hate you.
that was a pretty bad take. Yeah, apparently someone tried to storm up a narrative that Joss hates
That was
me,
good.
despite the fact that we do a podcast on a weekly
Oh.
basis and we play duo ranked.
play together
willingly.
and
That
shit.
actually
That's
is the
funny
winner. I
as
think
fuck.
that
That's a
actually is
pretty
the
bad
one.
take.
That's a good winner.
All
I
right.
think honestly the last
we
one
need a
probably
winner,
beats
guys.
it out.
I think last
This
one.
is Dragons
Shanghai
versus
Paris.
Shanghai.
Paris. Yeah.
Sorry?
Dragons versus Paris.
Dragons versus
The
Paris.
last one. The last
Yeah.
one.
All right.
Yeah.
Congrats to XP27. Now, what I am going to fear, I'm going to dread this, is that people are going to purposely make bad takes to end up on Plat chat. And we need to be able to filter. We need to filter out like the people hunting the worst take award and people who genuinely believe it. And that is going to be a challenge, but I think this segment's a success. We'll bring it back. Sounds good.
Yeah.
You gotta do my flares. You gotta do
You
my
won't know
flares.
when we bring it back. It's not going to be
Yeah,
every week.
And maybe it won't be next week. It probably will be next week.
No, Johnny.
Don't say that.
There we go. Great new segment. All right, Bren's Player of the Week, and then let's get out of here. All right.
All right.
Who are our candidates for Bren's Player of the Week? What do we think?
I have one.
All right.
Amaranth. She's currently playing Overwatch 2 and streaming it.
Let's fucking go,
No,
baby.
absolutely not.
Single-handedly
No,
carrying the
absolutely
Overwatch 2
not.
category.
No.
Twitch, she's currently streaming Overwatch 2, I promise you. That's how you know we made it. We are so mainstream now that even Amaranth is playing Overwatch 2.
She's gotten out of the hot tub to play Overwatch.
I mean,
100%, I promise you. 100%.
Yeah, that's
Is she
pretty
rocking
sick.
the Torb skin, the beach Torb skin?
She's playing Tracer with the default skin, I think.
Oh,
That's
no.
pretty epic.
I am,
Default Tracer's going
as a co-founder of Plat Chat LLC, I am vetoing this decision.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. I wanted to say it anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh my god, the YouTube chat is
I really
lighting up
think
about
about
Amaranth. Jesus Christ. Get the fucking
We've
salt.
just lost all of our viewers, by the way.
Yeah.
No one is tuned in.
Get
They've
the
just
holy water.
closed the tab. Amaranth stream.
You're actually joking, but our viewership is actively dropping.
What if we give it to the developers for just the shitstorm of a week that they've probably had to go through this week and everything that is thing? And we appreciate, like, as much as it's easy to be critical of everything that's happened in this launch, you need to appreciate this is obviously not what they wanted, and this has probably been one of the most brutal weeks in their lives, or at least their careers.
Probably hella stressful. Yeah, there's no shot. Yeah, I'm down for that. That's a really good one. That's a good shout.
All right. There you go. I completely agree as well. Like, they've worked so hard this past week to make everything happen and make everything work. So, the Overwatch developers, thank you for all your hard work and your passion. We appreciate you so much. We're sorry that the launch was not as you wanted to be, but we're extremely grateful for the great Overwatch 2 experience that everyone seems to be enjoying, including Amaranth. So there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Plat Chat, episode 146, signing out. Next week, we'll talk about who actually made it out of the APAC Play-ins and